This meeting is being live streamed.
Got it.
This Jai Nyasi Maharaj, thank you very much for joining me for part four of these ecstatic discussions on where I first started my Krishna consciousness, which was Srila Prabhupada's Kishore Temple, which you played a vital role in helping to found and pioneer. You actually, I'm trying to remember the details now. Who was it that picked up the deities of Kishore in India? And did you bring them over or someone brought
No,
them over?
Shamsundar picked them out along with the deities for Bhaktivedanta Manor. They're like brother sister deities.
Wow.
Yeah, they came at the same time. He shipped
Bhakti,
ours and Bhaktivedanta Manor at the same time.
Bhaktivedanta Manor, because I think maybe you mean Radha London Ishvara, because Bhaktivedanta Manor is Radha Gokulananda, and Prabhupada got those from an Indian
Oh,
man.
really? Okay, okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah, so
think
it
you
must be the downtown one then. Yeah,
Radha London Ishvara, correct. Okay, and I
correct.
think
So
they're
yeah,
also white in color, similar.
yeah. No, they're almost matched. I've seen pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, really cool.
Made by the same Wala, the same
Yeah,
Murti.
right. A really special guy that Shamasundar knew, because those Kishore deities are just amazing. I
Hmm.
mean, yeah. What do I have? And you see, it's a little black and white.
Yeah, just hold it for a second. Beautiful. Wow. Was that very early on when they were
Yes,
first?
yes. I'm
Mhm.
trying to find a picture of Kishore very early on so that they can make sure that they still look as they arrive, which is
Oh,
definitely what Prabhupada said. The
aha.
deity should never be changed because the deity arrives as they so desire.
I know some devotees have created a great uproar because they paint the eyes differently in different temples and
Yeah, no, they're not. They're supposed to be as is. There was
uh,
one devotee who wanted to make all the deities look like Rukmini Dwarkadish, but they actually did that in Chicago. They came, oh, we want to repaint, and they changed it. And then I talked to the GBC, and we made that somebody else changed it back.
okay.
Like the eyebrows and the lips and everything different because
Right.
Kishore she has very light lips. They're
Uh-huh.
not bright. You can see it's just like light pink.
Okay.
Just amazing. Anyway, oh, I just wanted
So,
to say
yes,
this one thing about the Vaishnava names. Vaishnavera pada duli tahe mora snana keli tarpana mora Vaishnava nama. The chanting of the devotee's name. No, the dust of the devotee's lotus feet is my bathing water. The chanting of the devotee's names is my satisfaction. Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was so nice to do those names.
Oh, when we were discussing all the
Yes.
devotees from the
Yeah.
early days.
I remember this. I wanted to give Bhaktivinoda's feeling about that.
Would do you know what Shastra, which of his books or writings that came from? Any idea, the source?
That's, uh, oh, I'm sorry. It's not Bhaktivinoda. It's Narottam Das.
Oh, can you send that to me, please, that quote?
Uh, it's Swanishta. Yeah, I can do that. I'll
Yeah, thank
make a
you. It's a
screen of it.
beautiful quote.
Swanishta by Srila Narottam Das.
I'd like to share that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So now I think first we want to speak to the inquiry from Ganapati Swami about right. What was it exactly? Why the details on why they wanted to and finally did remove me from Chicago? Is that
Yeah, he wanted to have more of the details on that.
okay? Okay. So I thought it through, and basically there were three things: um, the finances, my position as a leader, and the problems in relation with Tripurari Maharaj's party.
Now, you had been president for how long prior to this?
Practically 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was the first sign of
Well,
discontent?
well, Jagadish was always pretty discontented with me because at first I was told not to get that building. It was too
Oh,
much. It was, yeah. I was like over endeavored, and
okay.
but anyway, I just got it because it was such an amazing thing. And anyway, there was always some, because he had a view of management of very conservative, and I was very like, kind of liberal and wild with my management, maybe too much so. But
Okay.
it worked. And Prabhupada was very pleased.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, well, yeah, I can. Well, when we read the letters, we'll read that. But anyway, yeah. So the finances. First of all, the first year with Rath Yatra, we went into the red to put the festival together, and there
What
was
year was
some
that? What year was that?
uh, 74, right?
Okay.
That was the first Rath Yatra, and uh, there was some difficulty, and finally we came out of it. And then 75, it was less so in the red, but it was still in the red 10,000. So that was the main question. And I just told them, well, to put the festival together is a very difficult thing. And so the point was, they were thinking, well, why are you doing the festival even? And I was thinking, well, I'm going to do the festival. It'll work out because it's not a problem managing, because there's what's called a float. A float.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
it takes
flatbed truck.
no. I'm talking about a float in accounting.
Oh, yes, yes. You're having
Yeah.
yeah. Every Sankirtan devotee goes out with a float. You start off with $10 or $20 or whatever.
That's another float. But this float means that it takes some time for the expenses to catch up with the income,
Oh,
and a lot of businesses run on that float. So we had about a 2 to 3 week float. So even though we were 10,000 down, it didn't obstruct us in the management in any way. We just had to try to make it up within 3 weeks,
right.
which we probably weren't going to be able to do. So anyway, at first he suspected that I was stealing. It was very bizarre. He bought Bhakta Rupa up from Texas to audit the books. So like
Yeah.
for a month, he was downstairs in a separate room, like auditing the books. And me and Prayatosh were trying to say, look, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. And he said, no, I have to do it. Jagadish made it, he wants that. And I was saying, well, I didn't do anything. He said, well, we have to see, and so anyway, finally it comes out that it's completely straight, no problems at all.
Right.
And this was maybe a couple of months before the festival. Then Prabhupada arrives before Rath Yatra, and we have an amazing meeting with Prabhupada. You were there in 75, right?
Yeah, yes, I just arrived with the Winnipeg
And,
devotees. Yeah.
and you saw Prabhupada, huh?
Yeah, at the airport.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
and then in the temple I saw him bathing, abhishaking the deities to install them on the buses and vans. Yeah.
Okay, right. And did you go to the apartment that we had for him?
No, I wasn't invited.
Okay. Yeah, so what I did was every day I brought the different departments in the temple. But the Sankirtan devotees, the book distributors, got two darshans with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was very happy because in letters to me, he always emphasized the book distribution. But simultaneously, he was very happy with the other devotees. We had the temple cleaning crew, the pujari department, the Harinam Sankirtan department, and so they all came to see Srila Prabhupada. And this was the time when Prabhupada, we had a press conference downtown, and Prabhupada at that time said, he made the statement that women's brains are smaller than men's brains.
Yes, it's quite a controversial statement.
Yeah.
And the interviewer, the female reporter said, "Well, that
That was
was like years
that was
ago."
later. She came to the apartment after the conference, and she
Okay.
was very, very, very challenging. And Prabhupada just was replying very, very, mellowly and
Nonchalant. Nonchalant.
Yeah, nonchalant, no big deal. And this is what, this has been established clearly, the brain size and everything. And finally she worked herself into a frenzy. She started to yell. And then Prabhupada said,
Really?
just see, you've what is it? You have like verified my
Oh no.
premise. And all the camera crew, everybody started laughing at her. And she like stormed out, even her camera crew.
Oh wow. Now I don't want to mix up. Maybe I'm mixing up the Philadelphia with the Chicago because was this the
he came right,
reporter
he went to
that,
Philadelphia right after Chicago.
okay, because maybe he ran into the same kind of challenge because in one instance, um, uh, Prabhupada was saying, well, she asked, why? What she asked? Did she ask? I think, why do you shave your heads? And Prabhupada said, "What to keep." He said, He said it's better to have a cool head and warm legs than to have a hot head and cold legs. You have to have a very cool head to practice this Krishna consciousness. So I don't know if it was in Chicago or if he
I'm not
said,
sure. I'm not sure. She asked several questions before, and kind of gradually worked herself into a frenzy because
and,
Prabhupada
and,
was
and,
so.
and I don't know if it was again there or in Philadelphia that the female reporter said, well, those statistics of women having smaller brains, that's like back in the
Turn of the century or something.
1920s or 30s or whatever. Probably said, well, they haven't grown anymore since then.
If it was the brain thing, it was probably there. I'd be surprised if it showed up. So it could have showed up twice.
Of course, just to clarify, we have great Vaishnavis, and they're doing as much or even more than many men. And
Exactly. Yeah. Who,
yeah,
who cares about the brain size, or who cares about the particular position? This is always my idea, that we're looking at hearts. We're not looking at external activities. It's not that devotional activities are external as they say, but nonetheless, they're activities that we're engaging in on a plane of our physical and mental consciousness. And
hmm
the real standard is the heart. Like Prabhupada would always say, the sincere sweeper in the street is better than the charlatan meditator. So the guy who's a Brahmin is a charlatan, and the guy who's sweeping in the street is sincere. So you can scrub floors, engaging sincerely, and be better than the person who's, distributing books or doing pujari work or whatever. It's the heart. That's the
it's
main thing.
just like when all the Radha Damodar Prabhus were in Atlanta temple, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj gave each one of them a rose, and they brought in a rose to Prabhupada, and then Narendra Prabhu said, Srila Prabhupada, what service pleases you the most? Expecting him to say book distribution, and Prabhupada said, if you love Krishna.
Uh, yeah. I mean, excuse me. Um, yeah, that's the real thing. Anyway, we got a little distracted. So um,
Okay.
anyway, so
So different reasons why, maybe you would have to be on your way on your way. And one of them was that maybe you're being a spendthrift. The next one was we're not sure exactly what you're doing with the money. We have to audit you. And what comes next?
okay. Well, anyway, it was due to a big festival, and also one thing that I remembered after is that our receipts were down considerably as a result of Tripurari's party arriving there.
Oh,
We were limited. We had half the airport. He had half the airport before we had the whole airport.
okay.
I don't know if we cut men down. I think I did cut men down because I did have that we'll get to that. I had kind of a dispute with Tripurari about the number of men, but that's the third reason that came up. Okay,
Okay.
second was you're not a very good leader. You're tall and skinny and whatever. That's my interpretation. Anyway,
Okay.
but I just replied, come on, I sued the city of Chicago, got a federal injunction that opened all the airports in North America. I
Well, you did that. You did on your own, or you had Amarendra Prabhu helping on that too.
no, I did it on my own.
Wow.
It was Robert Lindbergh versus Richard J. Daley in the city of Chicago.
Wow.
They did me as an individual. Yeah, no, Armand was not a lawyer yet.
Okay.
When I was in LA, he was working on it, I think, in
So you
77.
just used the intelligence Krishna gave you, did the work of a service of a lawyer.
Yeah, well, no, I found the ACLU represented us. I found the ACLU,
Okay.
American Civil Liberties Union.
Uh-huh.
At that time, they were very, they liked the idea that they could stick it to, the city of Chicago. Because the city of Chicago was always like pushing the limits on freedom of speech and
Uh-huh.
freedom of all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so they really enjoyed defeating Mayor Daley afterwards, and I'm sure they rubbed it into him.
So on the basis of the American Constitution, you got the rights to work the airport?
Yeah, Chicago and every airport in the United States.
On the basis of you winning Chicago?
Yes.
Wow, so you opened up all of America's airports.
Yes, it was a federal injunction. And
That's major.
Because of that, the devotees could go to the airports.
But then later they restricted them to just only one spot with a table.
Exactly. That we'll come to that in my discussion.
Okay.
So anyway, so I'm not a very good leader, but I said I did that. Then what did I do? I got a building that at that time was probably close to the largest building in ISKCON. They hadn't gotten 55th Street, skyscraper yet.
Right.
It was a big building and with a hotel wing and so many things were there, big open rooms. And anyway, and then I developed the interior and negotiated with the city of Evanston, who wanted us out. But I had the city of Evanston on their heels because I had the ACLU after them also for freedom of religion.
Oh, good.
They were violating our freedom of religion. They wanted us out of there because the YMCA was actually originally the Negro YMCA.
Okay.
So they wanted to destroy all evidence of that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it was segregation. There was the white YMCA 3 blocks down, and this was the Negro.
I didn't know.
In the mediocre quarter. Yeah. So anyway, they were on our case all the time. So I held them off, and I arranged to hold them off. The ACLU had held them off, but I was on top of that.
Wow. Great service.
So, then the deity worship I established, the deity worship of Kishore Kishori was, I established that. Prabhupada sent the deity and, we got people joined us, became pujaris, and we established, and what to speak of the renovation of the building, the temple room and all these things. I mean, isn't that leadership?
Of course.
So yeah. Then devotees came to serve there from all over the country. Plus we had so many new devotees join. Every letter I sent to Prabhupada, there was a list of devotees getting initiated, getting second initiations, so many things like that. Things were really developing well. Okay, and then I had divided everyone was engaged. Everyone had a particular duty, and in each particular department, there was the head of the department.
Right.
So competent devotees, they had their own field of action. And I let them do it however they want. If there was a problem, I would oversee it and stuff, give some advice, but they ran
it. You delegated authority.
They ran it, and let them, give them a soccer ball and let them go for the goal.
But that's Prabhupada's style, correct?
Yes, of course. Proprietorship turns sand to gold. That's from Prabhupada.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is my management. This is what I said. And they just said, well, the money and this and that, and you don't give Bhagavatam very nicely. And, I did a few stupid things also that I didn't want to mention. But anyway, there was some problem with that, but it wasn't, the devotees weren't uptight. Maybe there was one or two.
They didn't want to vote. They didn't want to vote you out.
No, not at that time. They had an election later when, like a month after Uttama Shloka was there, they had some election, and it was close, but I lost in that election. But I think it's already established that I'm gone, and naturally they're going to go in that direction. So anyway,
they elected Uttama Shloka Prabhu.
At that time, I had already left. I was taken
Oh,
out.
okay.
And then I was taken out already. Then it wasn't as though they had an election before taking me out. It was
Okay.
Tamal Krishnam Swami, Tripurari Swami, and Jagadish Prabhu. They really were on my case for several days, and
Uh-huh.
finally thinking, even though I was always kind of rubbing, rubbing up against the GBC man, I really honored the fact that Prabhupada said you must accept the GBC's in finality. So
Uh-huh.
because the GBC finally decided that after all my objections, I agreed and wrote the resignation. What I should have done is appeal to Srila Prabhupada, because
Uh-huh.
in in a letter that we'll read, Prabhupada said, I don't like changes of management. There can be corrections. This was when I had the first debt after the first Rath Yatra. Somehow or that came to Prabhupada. So I wrote him a letter about it and so on. And anyway, Prabhupada didn't like it. Then they went to Detroit and tried to remove Govardhan, but Govardhan went to Prabhupada directly. And Prabhupada said, no, you can't do that. And then he made the rule from then on that they could not remove temple presidents without his approval.
Yes,
That rule,
the story I heard is devotees complained he wasn't chanting his rounds, and Prabhupada said, "Give him back his service, and he will start chanting again."
right? Yeah. I mean, Prabhupada was like that. I mean, he was merciful, and also he understood about management. Change of management it's a big deal, because there were so many programs that were in progress, and so many setups and arrangements, like this dealing with the city of Evanston. What
Yeah.
happened is finally, at Tripurari's time, the city of Evanston somehow or other they let the city of Evanston take the building, and they moved. So
Oh,
were I there, I would have continued to fight them.
I
You know, just
see.
so anyway, it wasn't Tripurari
Yeah,
Maharaj's fault.
because you weren't going to the airport daily, so you would have had that time to focus on that.
Right, of course, of course. I
Yeah.
was, it was ongoing from when we first came in there. There was a relationship with the city, but they just took me out. I didn't like spend time with Uchima telling him all the different details. I was just removed. And Uchima
Uh-huh.
came in and like imposed heavy financial restrictions. That was like he's a really good financial manager, so they brought him in. So anyway, whatever, it was done, and ultimately it was Krishna's mercy, like everything. But I
Right.
didn't see it like that for a long time. It was just really painful. But Krishna does things like that to help us grow in our inner development, our inner life. So that was the second thing. And the third thing was I was not cooperating nicely with Tripurari Maharaj's party. And this was a philosophical kind of dispute. My position was we have to minimize people at the airport because we don't want to blow out the scene. So
You
I
were looking
wanted,
at long term. Yeah.
yeah, of course. And I actually wrote to Srila Prabhupada, and he wrote back and said, yes, we must make lifelong plans for spreading Krishna
Uh-huh.
consciousness.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, but there was constant conflict in that way, trying to, and his philosophy was, well, we have this chance, it's there. We should just, jump on it as much as we can, bring as many people as we can in there and milk it while we can. And I
Right.
was just like, you're going to blow them out.
Yeah.
And it finally happened, right? And
Kind of
maybe
like
all the,
Shreyas and Preyas. Immediate gain as
right,
Preyas as compared to long term Shreyas.
right. So that was a dispute. And, they didn't like it. And what was it? No, they had come in by the order of the GBC, which I objected to at first, but it was the BBT distribution party, and it was directly for Prabhupada. So we went along and we cooperated to some extent, no doubt. But there was constantly a strain there. And later, when Tripurari Maharaj joined with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, we became friends. And he said confidentially, I wanted to take over the temple,
Uh-huh.
and I finally did. So,
He was
anyway, yeah,
honest with you.
Yeah. So that, it's just, I mean, we were so young and fired up and had all this energy. And, it was just, I was all fired up and he was all fired up, and we just ran into each other because we had different conceptions of how to run things.
And and everyone wanted to do their best for Prabhupada.
Right, right. So, I mean, it's understandable. I look back and I don't have, I really don't, I have a little hard feeling with being forced to resign.
Yeah,
Still, it's kind of there. I can't remove it, but intellectually, I understand the circumstance, and really, in my heart, I understand how that happened, so that I was free to, take full shelter of Srila Maharaj. Like I told you before, if I was still temple president, I would have stayed at the duty of temple president, because that was
right,
my duty.
right.
But otherwise,
But Krishna had other plans for you.
yeah, otherwise by that time we had already gotten the land in Badger and moved to Badger, and it was
Uh-huh.
my duty was to help to run that. It was a cooperative, a rural cooperative that we had.
Right.
Anyway, so that's that for Ganapati Swami Maharaj. And so then I'd like to kind of go through some of my letters, which
Please.
I've kind of organized. Let me just see if I can get it open here.
Great. About how many did Prabhupada write you?
Well, there's several missing. The key letter that he wrote about Maharaj Yudhisthira telling a lie and his chariot touching the ground, and how we should only devotees like Maharaj Yudhisthira should be able to do that. And that letter is gone. But I was told by one of the devotees that engineered the movement-wide change, where they completely stopped lying. He said that was the key. It was after Prabhupada's departure. That was the key element in it, that particular letter. And they must have taken it out. And when they sent me my letters, it was gone, along with about anywhere from 5 to 10 other letters for some reason or other have just been lost. But I have about 15 or 20 letters, and I've kind of culled them down to a few key ones. And I just want to read some of the lines to give some view of what's going on.
What year do you think that Maharaj Yudhishthira letter was?
74 probably, maybe 75. Let's see. Yeah, because they were already starting to do lying in 72. I have a letter from Prabhupada about where he said, the catch the big fish and don't get wet. Have you heard that one? Anyway.
Oh yeah, sure.
We'll
That's a
come to
famous.
that. Yeah, we'll come to
That's
that. Let me
a
just
famous.
open this. There we go. Okay.
I'm just looking for the Maharaj Yudhishthira letter.
Yeah. I mean, it's in there. It's in there. It's you have the books. I'm pretty sure it's in the books. Okay. So I'm glad to see that the incense distribution is, this is when I was treasurer in Detroit and eventually vice president under Bhagwan. The incense distribution is increasing, and your method of distribution, that is with our literature, prasadam, etc., is very nice. So continue it. I'm especially pleased at how you are distributing our books, particularly to the schools and universities. This program is so important. We should be increased more and more. We want to flood the world over with our books. So go on in this way, and Krishna will surely bless you.
Nice.
Let's see. And then he corrected my method for care of funds and said we should do I wanted to keep slips. I had this system put together, and Prabhupada just said do it very simply. Let's see. Should have opened these all before. There we go. Okay, this is Cleveland. I am encouraged how nicely you're distributing BTGs and books, so continue this program wholeheartedly. It's also encouraging to note that you're getting such a fine house for your new temple. It is so large and on the main street of Cleveland. I can tell that you are all sincere devotees because Krishna is giving you such nice facility to serve him. So make the house very gorgeous to the standard of our LA and New York temples, And when you are ready, Radha and Krishna can be installed there.
Wow.
Um,
Please give the dates of these letters if you don't mind.
Okay, this is 13 July 1971.
Uh-huh.
And I also asked Prabhupada about distributing prints of Krishna that I could get in India. And he said, no, wait until we print them ourselves,
Okay.
use them ourselves.
Okay.
Okay. I'm coming to Detroit on July 16th, so I'll see you at that time.
This is 1971? No.
Yeah, 1971.
Yeah.
So let's see. Then
I have a bunch of your letters too, by the way.
oh, cool.
I've got them at my disposal if you want me to look up any of them, but you probably have a bunch ready right now, right?
Yeah. Oh, this one is a beautiful one.
What year?
This is 15 August 1971. You are all helping me in pushing forward this mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, coming down by disciplic succession to my Guru Maharaj. Whatever you have spoken, it is simply due to them. I am simply the via media to receive them on behalf of my Guru Maharaj. His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. Hoping this will meet you in good health. Your ever well wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So everything was for his Guru Maharaj. That's why it's key. It's crucial now in our as Prabhupada has departed, and we need to keep proper emphasis in remembering Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and the strict line that he presented. You know, very strong line, particularly in relation to Sahajas. Prabhupada quoted that many times. Anyway, I just thought that was an important, how it really affected me, that how important Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was to Srila Prabhupada. Oh yeah, you're right to say that with Prasadam and the Maha Mantra, we shall conquer over the world. That was the beginning of my program in your country. I thought like that. It was my plan from the very beginning before even coming here. So Krishna is giving us such good opportunity. We should utilize it. 6 September 1971. Let's see. Okay. There we go. This hops up to maybe it's out of order. 12/11/74. This was the after, so December 11. This was after the first Rath Yatra. I'm glad to know that you are cooperating with Jagadish for rectifying the difficulties there. I have received report that you've repaid debts of $35,000. This is very nice. So continue in this way. I want that all our centers be very nicely managed so I can be freed for translation work without anxiety. Therefore, I have created the GBC to take this responsibility. I took that seriously. I still, hassled around with the GBC on specific instructions and things because I disagreed with their management style. Anyway, I took it seriously that ultimately we had to accept them, and ultimately I did accept them and resign from Chicago. I don't know why that shows. It shows 71 in the sequence of the letters, but it was 74. So it's a little out of sequence. December 12th, 1971. I'm very much pleased by the enclosed pictures of your new Cleveland, Ohio center. It is most respectable looking and elegant, and I'm very glad to see that you've got such a nice place to conduct Krishna's business and keep Radha and Krishna very excellently by providing them fully with nice prasadam, flowers, ornaments, etc. I think that if you order nice deities from our devotees in Jaipur, that they will very much enjoy to live there. Then you can give them all good attention befitting such a nice house. So anyway, so we were constructing a beautiful altar. We had a temple room all set up. I was about to contact devotees in India to arrange for the deities. And Bhagawan, the GBC decided that everybody had to come together in Detroit and leave the different temples for the time being to kind of solidify our Krishna consciousness. So
And
we
you
all,
were where? You were in Detroit at this time, or
I was in
Cleveland?
Cleveland. I was in
Yeah,
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
I got in the house, and like I read here, Prabhupada just told us to get Radha Krishna deities,
Right.
because we had different devotees that had a lot of devotees had joined coming from the college programs that we, like I told you before, Gopal Bhatta and his wife, and um, uh, Jasamati Nandan's wife, what's her name, Radha Kunda, yeah, and few other ladies and men. So by that time we had 15 devotees, maybe a little more, I forget. But Prabhupada was happy that the house was it was a beautiful house with columns in the front, and it was like an old mansion. It wasn't that big, but it was an old mansion owned by like one of the Firestone people or Rockefeller
Okay.
people, I forget. Anyway, so that's that. And this next, yeah, this next letter is somewhat important. Let's see.
I got a couple to read to you about you.
Okay.
You tell me when.
Okay, let me just finish this one, then we can do it.
Okay.
Okay, now this one was important because I had asked about devotees wanted to read a Chaitanya Charitamrita, put together by something else. So Prabhupada replied, "There is no need by any of my disciples to read any books besides my books. In fact, such reading may be detrimental to their advancement in Krishna consciousness. All reading of outside books, except in certain authorized cases, such as, for example, to read some philosopher like Plato to make an essay comparing his philosophy with Krishna's philosophy. But otherwise, all such outside reading should be stopped immediately. It is simply another botheration. If my students cannot even read my own books thoroughly, why should they read others? I have given you TLC, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. What is the need of there to read Chaitanya Charitamrita translated by someone else?" And Prabhupada wrote someone else in his own writing. You're right to have stopped such reading. Yeah, so that's an important
Yes.
idea. And it so happens that later I went back to university and I was in a class on Plato's Republic, and I was able to write an essay comparing Plato's philosophy to Krishna conscious philosophy.
Oh.
It's actually very similar. It's amazingly similar, which I could go into, but we shouldn't take up the time, I guess. So tell me the letters you have.
Yeah, no, but before we jump there, I just wanted to think, since the time of this letter, so many Krishna conscious books have been released. You go to Loy Bazaar, and there's one bookwala there, and you go up to the second floor, and it's just wall to wall, every single inch is filled with Gaudiya Vaishnav books or books on Vrindavan, books on Krishna.
Right.
Some would say, well, that instruction that Prabhupada was giving there was meant for that time. Now we have Vidagdha Madhava, now we have Lalita Madhava, now we have
Well,
Govinda Lilamrita, now we have so. Go on, Maharaj.
what I learned from Srila Sridhar Maharaj after Prabhupada's departure is that one should only read books that are authorized by Sri Guru. If you want to consider Kushakrata and Gopi Puranadhan's book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, was authorized for us by Srila Govinda Maharaj. He said that boy is translating without ego. And he said the
Nice.
other books have got lots of ego, so don't read them.
Huh. What,
Yeah.
do you have any idea what other books he was referring to? Or you'd rather not?
I won't mention right now. Anyway, yeah. So we look at Srila Sridhar Maharaj's books, Srila Govinda Maharaj's books, and books that have been authorized. Like there was what is the book by Jagadananda Pandit?
Prema Vivarta.
Prema Vivarta, yes. That one was also authorized originally by Srila Govinda Maharaj and finally by the new Acharya Maharaj in India, the guy who did the translation. But Acharya Maharaj was authorized by Srila Govinda Maharaj to do that particular book. He liked that it be put in English, which is really an astounding book.
I have
So,
it translated by Sarva Bhavana years ago.
uh-huh. Sarvabhavana was very sincere in relation to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But finally, when they gave the edict, either you stay with Sridhar Maharaj or you stay with ISKCON, he stayed with ISKCON. He was loyal in that way. And I find no fault with that.
Uh-huh.
He's a sincere, good devotee.
If you don't mind me digressing for a moment, I've heard the same, from GBC authorities. If people want to, I don't know what the mood is like anymore, but say 10 years ago, similar ultimatums were given. Like I asked Tripurari Maharaj, I said, Maharaj, I heard some rumor that, you departed from ISKCON because you want to be a guru, and they didn't, and people were interfering with that. And he said, no. He said the GBC told me that either you publicly repudiate your relationship with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, or you have to leave ISKCON. And he said,
Right,
he wrote to me, rather than to offend a Mahabhagavat, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he cooperated with the GBC and he left ISKCON.
right.
And
That was
so,
all of our situation, though. It wasn't maybe directly so, but it was a general instruction that, if you can no longer sit at the lotus feet of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And that was just ridiculous because it's like if you got an instruction not to listen to Srila Prabhupada, what would you do? Like, forget it, man. You're off.
right.
So
Right.
it's
Now,
similar.
I'm just going to ask you to be objective for a second here. Let's
Yes,
put
I'll
our
try.
let's put ourselves in the shoes of the GBC. How are they looking at it? Are they looking at it that, well, we're loyal to Prabhupada and Sridhar Maharaj doesn't see things exactly the way I mean, I don't know. Well,
Right.
how are they looking at the situation? Like
It
that?
was something like that, but also it was a disagreement that came where Srila Maharaj advised, as far as I remember, Srila Maharaj advised that they should forgive some of the uh, gurus who had fallen and help them become reinstated, so that
Uh-huh.
their disciples would not be disturbed. And
Right.
they wanted to be very severe. So
I
there was a break there, and then
Wow.
they sent Kirtananda, and Kirtananda challenged Srila Sridhar Maharaj in different ways, and to the point where he had Srila Sridhar Maharaj crying,
He
and
actually called him a demon, didn't he?
something like that. And
Uh,
then they issued a cassette tape, Kirtananda defeats Sridhar Maharaj, and you know at that point it was like, whoa, these guys are in trouble. And
Yeah.
even what happened was, with Bhagwan Das, who was my really good friend for a long time.
Yeah.
And but it was strange because when Sri Lanka and I got Gayatri Mantra, Prabhupada told us, hear from Bhagawan.
Uh-huh.
He
Wow.
didn't say hear from my tape, which he says to
Really?
everybody else. He said, hear
Uh-huh.
from Bhagawan. So we
He
did.
had, yep.
Yeah, and later Bhagwan became offensive to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So I said, what's going on with this? We have connection with Prabhupada and Gayatri Mantra through Bhagawan, and he's like, as far as we can see, he's pretty fallen now with all this offense to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So what do I do? And so they went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, the Ritvik must be reinforced.
The
Bhagawan was a very
Ritvik, the Ritvik?
Yes, because Bhagawan was very strong Ritvik in giving Gayatri to us.
Oh, I
So
see.
it has to be reinforced. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj sat and repeated Gayatri mantra to us, reinforcing the Ritvik. So in that way, Srila Sridhar Maharaj stood as Ritvik to Srila Prabhupada and gave us
Uh-huh.
Gayatri mantra. It wasn't as though I was getting reinitiated by Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
No.
which some people would say, of course, but it was
Uh-huh.
actually he was reinforcing the Ritwik. And we were
Mhm.
fortunate to hear the mantra from Srila Sridhar, no doubt.
Sure.
It had
Sure.
that connection, but that is the reasoning. And I can't even think of anyone who had a similar circumstance. So all I can think of is that, Prabhupada was connected with the future somehow. I,
Right.
I don't know, because it came out like that. So how do you figure? Um, so should I continue with it, or you want to read something else?
No, no. If you, unless you have more letters, I've got a few letters about you and from as well. I've got
Okay,
a few.
I've got, let me just see. There's a series of letters in 72. I'll pick out the ones that are just pretty important, I think. Oh, this is a very long letter. Let's see. Um,
While you're picking one out, I'll read a quick one.
okay, sure.
Letter to Yamuna, 1969. I have also received some photographs of your Rath Yatra Day ceremony sent to me by Sri Govinda. This is Los Angeles. I guess Prabhupada's in I don't know if Prabhupada is in Los Angeles or he's writing a letter to Yamuna in Los Angeles, but it was from 1969. And
I don't think it was me. It maybe there was a Govinda Das that he put the Shri onto.
it says Sri Govinda, 1969. He
Unless,
Prabhupada says, in the photographs sent by Sri Govinda, I have seen the nice brahmacharis of our London yatra. So maybe there was another Sri Govinda in England.
maybe so. I never heard of that, but it certainly wasn't. I wasn't in London or anything like
Okay.
that.
Here's one in from 1970, LA. Prabhupada's writing to Sri Govinda Bob Lindbergh.
That's
Uh,
me.
Yeah, I'm very
Initiation letter,
glad to
right?
note your humble attitude. So, this nice state of serving mood and your success is guaranteed in Krishna consciousness. So, I'm very happy to accept you as my initiated disciple, and your initiated name is Sri Govinda Das Brahmachari. I have chanted your beads duly, and I am returning them to you enclosed herewith. Please continue as you've been following the regulator principles and principles strictly and always chant 16 rounds of the holy names daily. It is very good that you are presently engaged in assisting Bhagavan Das by taking care of the treasury and distributing incense. You may
Mhm.
continue to expand this engagement and at the same time learn thoroughly our Krishna consciousness philosophy and how to apply it practically. You can take all help from Bhagavan Das in these matters. He is a very qualified devotee. See how Prabhupada's like instilling faith in
Yeah,
his disciples. Therefore, do not waste even a moment of this rare opportunity of human form of life. Chant Hare Krishna, be always finding out some engagement in the service of the Lord, and be happy. And by the grace of Krishna, you will be freed from all contaminations of this material condition and become fit for realizing the highest perfection of life, Krishna consciousness. Hope this meets you in good health. Your ever well wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. P.S. I am enclosing here with one sheet listing the standard practices for a devotee and also the qualifications of devotee. That's interesting. That was something that it seemed like it was standardized in those days.
yeah. I don't even remember.
Okay. Okay. Did you have another one you wanted to read? I have another one for
Yeah,
you, but we can
this
go
one is
back.
about this is telling something when I think I first had gone to Chicago.
Yeah.
And uh, let's see. I'm greatly pleased to hear from you that you have increased the selling books 5 times more in Chicago Center. Maybe by this time, yes, by this time we got the building. Because about 2 weeks after we moved into the building, my son was born. That was October 19th of 1972. So this is December 25th, 1972. So yes, there must always be competition. That gives life. That cannot be separated from life. Sanatan Dharma means the strong will utilize the energy of the weak. The weak must serve the strong. That we see everywhere, is it not? Who can deny? So the competitive spirit makes us strong. Otherwise, it is a society of weak men only. And what is the good of such society? But if you ask anyone, are you weak or strong? He must answer that he is weak. He cannot control even his toothache. What to speak of his death? Therefore, in fact, it is a society of weak men. Everyone is weak before Durga Devi or the material energy. If you see sometimes her picture, the foolish materialist is being held by the claws of her tiger carrier while she pierces him to death with her trident weapon. She has got 10 arms, each with weapons. She is so strong, and we are so weak that simply by piercing with her trident the threefold miseries. So she has a trident, the threefold miseries. Adibautika, Adidaivika, Adiatmika. The foolish materialists are all defeated. And before Krishna, Durga Devi is very weak. Krishna is the controller of Durga. And Prabhupada goes on. Let's see. In comparison to Krishna, the whole society serves the strongest. Therefore, there will be no envy of the stronger by the weaker class of men. So perfect society or Vedic society does not eliminate competition. Competition, stronger and weaker, must be there, but it eliminates envy because everyone is weak before Krishna. Is that clear? Regarding your other activities, should we become detached from the results of activities, or should we become simply attached to the lotus feet of Krishna? The answer is that both of these philosophies are right. One should not be attached to his personal achievement, but if one is attached in order to please his spiritual master, then it is all right. Unattached to my benefit, attached to Krishna's benefit. Krishna consciousness means attachment for Krishna and detachment for personal benefit. That's all. But in this case, if there's a fight amongst yourselves over these things, book distribution, competition, you should not develop ill feeling. That depends on the persons. If ill feeling is there, then stop it altogether. Together chant Hare Krishna. Those who are behind should eulogize those who are advanced. If you become envious, that is material. Attachment, detachment, these things are natural. If you become attached to something, you become detached from the other. So that's the progressive development of Krishna consciousness. You accept one thing, leave another thing behind. So we can estimate our advancement in this way. This is the test. The Krishna conscious movement, there's no question of enviousness, hatred, things like that. Material life means hatred for Krishna and desire for matter. We have to convert ourselves. When one becomes Krishna conscious, actually, he does not even hate material things because he becomes expert how to utilize everything for Krishna. Krishna consciousness is so nice. We do not hate anything material because we have learned from our disciplic succession how to utilize material things for Krishna's service. Actually, bhakti means realization of the Supreme, and this means increasing attachment for him and reforming of detachment or hating of material name and fame. So far, this making a false story for collecting money or selling books. Of course, we may do anything for Krishna, but that is supposed to be reserved for very advanced experts in Krishna consciousness. They know how to catch the big fish without themselves getting wet. So simply stick to describing how wonderful is Krishna, then whenever we may say or exaggerate, that is not a lie. But other things, lies, they will not help us to train ourselves in truthfulness. Lie to some, not to others. That is not a good philosophy. Rather, the Brahmins are always truthful, even to their enemies. There is sufficient merit in our books that if you simply describe them sincerely to anyone, they will buy. The art, that art you must develop, not the art of lying. Convince them to give by your preaching the absolute truth, not by tricking. That is more mature stage of development of Krishna consciousness. And then Satsarup Goswami writes, this is an important letter. You should circulate it. It's not
before you go on to the Satsarup Maharaj one, I guess Prabhupada must have wrote that because he got some reports that something underhanded was going on.
No, I told him.
Oh, okay.
That was part of my question. So there were several questions that required substantial answers, and he gave them. So this was an important letter that I think I turned around and sent it to all the centers.
Because you were hearing that some of the devotees at the airport were not always straightforward.
That was generally the idea at that time, that we can do that because if we get them to take a book, then we can do anything. That was generally
Yena tena prakarena mana. How does it go? Some or other, by hook or by crook, give them a book. That was the saying, right?
yeah, something like that. So I objected, and Prabhupada, told that it should not be done. So anyway, then there's another one about competition.
So there, that might have been some cause of friction too, because I never was able to do the change up myself, but I know it became popular at that time.
Yeah,
People walking off with a large bill going into the bathroom or whatever.
right. Let's see. This has come up sideways, and I don't know how to turn. There we go. Is that gonna work? It's upside down. There. Okay. Oh, trat. Okay. So Prabhupada is saying that in this letter that this is about, I wrote about the court case. This is our main business, distributing books all over the world and thus turning the minds of the fallen souls toward Krishna. So far the court case is concerned, I shall be interested to hear the outcome. So you may keep me informed, but always remember, Krishna is the supreme controller of all that be. Then he goes on to say he wants to finish his Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and for this person, he's sending sannyasis around preaching. Let's see. Oh, this is where Shama Sundar is taking care of the matter, and you may consult with him about the shipping date of the deities and so on. So, yeah, he's getting Radha Krishna deities for Chicago. Let's see. Oh, you say that you are collecting sizable funds from incense and book distribution, as I expect that you will also increase your payments to my book fund as much as possible. This will be very, very pleasing to me, as I am most concerned that these books of mine be printed profusely and distributed all over the world, as each book has so much potency for making persons Krishna conscious. As Chicago is one of the largest cities in the US, why not see if you can be the largest contributor to my book fund? Although I think that you have got some stiff competition from Los Angeles branch. But if you can beat them, that will be very first class. Yeah. Anyway, so it goes on to say celebrate Rath Yatra, celebrate Gaur Purnima nicely. This one is important because well, you'll see, I wanted to get an apartment building for the grihastas so that they could live nearby the temple, and we could have nice facility for grihastas to practice Krishna consciousness and also practice their grihasta life, like they have in LA. So all these letters are upside down. Okay. Regarding purchasing the apartment house, Mayapur Vrindavan Trust will immediately purchase, and monthly rent may be paid into the trust. Now you immediately send me the scheme and description of a suitable building, and I will send Karandar Prabhu there with down payment to finish the transaction.
Wow.
Yeah, but they wouldn't do anything. I think by that time, perhaps Karandar had left, and Rameshwar Prabhu at the time I think so. I'm not sure, but anyway, they didn't do anything. We never got an apartment building. I wasn't able to do that over the next 2 years.
But Prabhupada had authorized it
Directly and said, you do it. Yeah, I want to hear of it, but I couldn't convince them to give money. They kept saying, "Oh, we don't have enough, this, that," and it was ridiculous. Because then Chicago, nice, 12 or 14 apartments for grihastas, people would have poured into Chicago, the married people. It would have just been huge.
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is management, isn't it? I mean, and leadership. Uh, I don't know. You can see I'm still a little burned by the whole thing, but anyway.
There's that saying, if you build it, they will come, right? If you create the
Exactly. Yeah. And that happened in Chicago. We had this big wing of like, I don't know, 15 or 20 rooms that were previous, like the YMCA hotel. And within a short time, it was full.
Mhm.
Okay. What was this?
I was amazed sleeping alongside the edge of the swimming pool, the empty swimming pool, and I never fell in.
Yeah, right. There was a lot of devotees during Rath Yatra time was lined up all the way around the pool. I think there was some even inside the pool. I forget. But
I remember, I don't know if it was you or someone else that was blowing a conch shell in there to chase out some ghosts.
yeah, we had problems with ghosts, and we did regularly sound conch shells around the building because there was an old folks home across the way, and the ghosts inhabited that place, and they came over and tried to take over our building, but we had a real program to drive them out, and it worked. Srimad Bhagavatam and conch shells. So anyway, so this is nice. Uh, I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated July 23rd, 1973. I have very much appreciated the picture of the deities and their surrounding. This is excellent, better than Los Angeles. I have named your deities Kishore, Kishori. So go on with your worship and increase it more and more till all Chicago has become aware of Kishore, Kishori in your
Wow,
temple. Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
wonderful, yeah.
Yeah. So otherwise, the rest of the letter was initiations and second initiations and stuff. This next letter is also is the I think the reply to when I described the circumstance going on with the the BBT party. Let's see. Hope this is the right letter. There we go. Okay. The enclosed newspaper story, Krishna followers freed from police harassment, is just further testimony of the great victory made by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chicago. I understand the Chicago area is the most lucrative place in the world for distribution of our books, and
Wow.
that you have done very careful work in getting all permission. Therefore, this rumor that within a few years there will be police repression and people will have to have no more money to buy books and Sankirtan will stop is completely bogus. Prabhupada underlined it. Whoever told you that is a rascal saying that in my name. I never said that. Rather, Sankirtan movement will expand continuously as long as we are sincere. When I came in the beginning, I began to expand it, and now it is going on, and there's no question of it stopping. Therefore, go on with your lifetime plan, making secure in distributing books and spreading Krishna consciousness. There's no cessation. This movement is eternal. Wonderful news, you have permission to hold Rath Yatra on the main street of Chicago on Saturday, July 6th, and tens of thousands of people will view the cart. I've been invited to attend the Rath Yatra in San Francisco on July 8th, so I'm hoping also that I will stop in Chicago on my way to San Francisco and observe the festival with you. I will inform you further regarding sending the plane tickets for our when our European tour is fixed up. So this is from Hare Krishna land in Bombay. Prabhupada agreeing to come for the first Rath Yatra. And so now we were building a wonderful Rath Yatra car in the back. And the one devotee, I forget his name, who worked with Jayananda in San Francisco, came and gave the outline and helped us for the first couple of weeks. And then a boy named Bhakti David, who was a super carpenter, took over and organized the whole thing.
Wow.
And completed a beautiful Rath Yatra car with, like, I don't know, 6-7 foot high wheels and the whole thing. It was amazing.
Can you just put your camera down a little because I only see your glasses.
Oh,
Don't see
sorry.
your
Is that
face.
better or the other way?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm kind of leaning to read the letters too. They're all coming up sideways for some reason.
I have one here, a letter to Bhagavan, Bombay, April 1171. Yes, the Gayatri Mantra initiations may be performed by you. He's writing to Bhagavan.
Mhm.
Hold a fire ceremony and give this sacred thread on my behalf. I'm closing here with one thread, duly chanted on by me, along with a copy of Gayatri Mantra for Sri Govinda Das and mantra for his wife Sri Lekha Devi also. To each you should recite the mantra individually and they will repeat, and then the thread should be offered to Sri Govinda Das. The tape recording is not required.
That's it. The thing I told you about.
Yeah,
Weird. I don't think that happened anywhere to anyone. It's like
interesting.
Prabhupada saw the future or something.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Another one to you, Sri Lekha, Bob, Leon, Will, Woody, Mike from July 71.
Cleveland.
Uh, you will be glad to know that very soon I'll be coming to New York, perhaps by the middle of this month, so perhaps it'll be possible for you to come and see me there, or else shortly after I may visit Pittsburgh and New Vrindavan, so that may be more convenient for you, whatever is permitted by Krishna. Thank you so much for your eagerness to see me. I am doing the work of my Guru Maharaj, and similarly, you also help me, and we will all be benefited in Krishna consciousness. Do you have another
Wow.
one ready?
Yeah, I do. Let's see. Blah, blah. There. Regarding your building, yes, you should purchase. Your hall is far better than Los Angeles, I think. You've installed the deity there so nicely with all nice decoration, and I have seen how clean you are keeping it. The room was fully packed, even the balcony. On the whole, that building is just suitable for our purpose. Your scheme for collecting from the Indian community is all right, and I approve the inscription for the plaques. Krishna is giving you all facility for spreading Krishna consciousness, and I assure you he will supply even more. You are a boy of great energy, and the more you use your energy in Krishna's service, the more he will supply you, rest assured. So it is up to you how much you want to endeavor for Krishna's sake.
So encouraging.
Yeah. I very much liked your Chicago Rath Yatra Festival, and I encourage you to increase it next year. The Rath Yatra Festival is very dear to me from my very childhood days. So I very much appreciate your holding this festival in Chicago. If you have a longer route in 2 or 3 cars, it will be very good. So I had them constructing a second Rath Yatra car, and I don't think they were able to finish it though.
Oh, for
So
Balaram and Subhadra.
yeah, and then we would do the third one the next year. That was my plan.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh, this one is another fairly important letter. I have one letter also where Prabhupada told us to that we should go on Sankirtan and eat only one meal a day. So we all tried it, and we went crazy. So somehow or other we got permission to add a second and possibly a third meal.
I remember the chickpeas. We had like, I don't know, it was numbered out, 5 or 6 chickpeas, a slice of ginger, a black pepper, a little squeeze of lemon on that. And
Uh-huh.
that was standard. I remember that.
That was the organization of the kitchen crew. I
Right.
remember, I can't remember all who, but I remember Damayanti was on that
Uh-huh.
that crew. She was super, super devotee, the most quiet devotee I've ever met, but
Wow.
just super dedicated. Okay. Um, oh, this is I'm in due receipt of your letter dated September 24th, 1974, and a note of the contents. Any discrepancy that can be corrected. A change of management, that is not good. All faults shall be corrected. You are already trained up man. Do not worry. Jayatirtha Prabhu is here, and I advised him in this connection that the 3 of you, him, Jagadish, and yourself, chalk out a program. But do not worry. You 3 men changed the discrepancies. I don't even remember what they were. Maybe it was finances. Why Jagadish's wife should interfere. You must run the society on cooperation. Whatever is done is done. You are all experienced men, and I have confidence that everything can be corrected. Yeah. So anyway, he didn't like management changes.
But I have a question on that. I don't know if
Yeah.
I heard this from you or someone else, that Prabhupada suggested that temple president be changed every 4 years. Did I hear that from you or someone else?
No, it was GBC.
The GBC should be
The temple
changed.
presidents elect the GBC every 4 years.
Okay, so it's not okay.
That was
So
yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I don't know if you heard that from someone else, but that's not correct as far as I know. It was that temple presidents would change the GBC every 4 years.
but it's usually the other way around. The GBC comes in and pulls out a president and puts his own.
Yeah, right. Prabhupada didn't like that. I'll come to that in a little bit more.
Uh-huh. But also don't the temple because I'm just trying to understand, is it a dictatorship or is there some democracy in Krishna consciousness where the devotees get to elect their local leader, whether it's
Well,
temple?
pretty much it was by appointment, but the leaders had to be leaders in such a way so that the devotees were happy and following. So
Facilitators.
yeah,
Facilitators.
it was almost like military arrangement. I was the temple president, and I set up 6 different departments,
Right.
and then on the different departments they had assistants, and then there was workers, and it was just from the workers to the assistant to the department head to sometimes the vice president, Sundarupa, and sometimes to me. So it all worked, fairly well. I don't remember difficulties in the temple. There was no question of elections on it. It wasn't like that in Prabhupada's arrangement. It was coming down from him.
Right.
We were representing Prabhupada. That's all. And
Right.
if the representation was not proper, then devotees would contact the GBC and try to change it. But like Prabhupada wrote in that, whatever the discrepancy was, I'm not sure, but he wants people to work together and change it and make it right.
Right.
That was the point. Let's see. Oh, there was there was an article. It was a bad article, and I sent it to Prabhupada. And I thought, oh, I'm sorry, this reporter tricked us. And let's see. I think the article about the book distribution at the airport is indirectly an advertisement. People will come to know about our books and our movement. Here in Bombay, they also have complaint that we are a nuisance. What can be done? The writer of the article calls us Hare Krishnas. He calls us this over and over and over again. He does not know that by doing this, he is chanting the holy name. He will be benefited. Just like during Lord Chaitanya's time, the Mohammedans used to joke how the devotees were chanting Hare Krishna. One of the officers said to his subordinate that it will be all right that they were chanting, but why he was chanting. And then that man had to admit that, yes, he was also chanting, that he did not know why he was doing it. So by writing this article, this man is chanting. Let's see. Talks about the Brihat Mridanga, the books. Actually, so I wrote an article in reply to that in Prabhupada. As you said in your reply, they must see what kind of life our men are living. The books are better than the nonsense books. You have written them to the point. And even if there's some complaint, they're getting the real thing from our books. They are forgetting the aim of life. Somehow or other, we have to give them the real thing. Why this one man should be envious. In the history of the world, especially the Western country, there's no record of selling religious books so many daily. It is unique in our history. Our men are doing good. That they do not see. Then he goes on to create men of, our aim is to create men of ideal character. Regarding your question, actually it is a fact that ultimately everyone should preach and distribute books if they want to please me in the best way. Book distribution must be given stress always. He has spoken the right thing. I think it was Tripurari at the time, maybe. If you do this sincerely, it is a fact that Krishna will supply everything else required. So you say that your men are like the four Kumaras disobeying Lord Brahma. Does that mean you are Brahma? I was like, oh, chastised by my guru. But it was really cool. I thought it was, humorous, but a dig also.
Right.
But it is, what is it? It is a fact. Here in India, we are now arranging for publishing Hindi books in other languages. I blindly follow my Guru Maharaj. I do not know what is the result. So I'm stressing this point on book distribution. He told me personally. Book distribution is the Bhagavat Marg, and temple worship is Pancharatriki Vidhi. Both are important for cultivating Vaishnavism, but comparatively speaking, Bhagavat Marg is more important than Pancharatriki Vidhi. Pancharatriki Vidhi. As far as possible, both should go on in parallel lines. Still, Bhagavat Marg is more important than the other. So you are all intelligent boys. You should judge the desire of my Guru Maharaj and help me in that way. Okay. I do not mean you should neglect temple life. But do not misunderstand this. But one man can remain. So far other devotees are concerned, they can eat once in the day or night after having kirtan. Then 6 hours of sound sleep, and this will maintain their health properly. So this one also, I was told to send it around to the temples. And I think we tried it, maybe it lasted a month, but people were like up at night raiding the refrigerators and, stealing oranges, and, it was ridiculous. So we just asked the GVC to just go back to the, the old.
Right.
And they must have gotten permission from Prabhupada. Okay, so we're almost completing what I've picked out. Let's see. Sideways again. Let's see. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, this is him accepting the second visit. I'm due receive your letter dated June 5th, 1975, and I've studied it carefully. 1 year ago, I accepted the invitation of Philadelphia Temple for their Rath Yatra, and they are holding it on the same date as you, so I may not be able to come there for the festival, but I can come there for a few days on my way from Los Angeles to Philadelphia, probably about the 8th or 9th of July, and I shall have to leave Chicago on the 11th of July in order to attend the Philadelphia Rath Yatra. If this is all right with you, we can do it like that. If you'd like, you can set up those appointments in meetings during that time. That was an appointment with the police, the mayor, different dignitaries met with Prabhupada at that time. And we had a separate apartment a block away from the temple, really nice apartment, like 3 bedrooms to facilitate the all of his servants also. And that was the place where that lady came after the press conference and challenged Prabhupada about the women's brain size. All these things are external and not significant. We're looking at the heart, and if a woman's position is a certain way or a man's position is a certain way to be a worker, it's not a big deal. That's just the way things are set up.
Right.
So, just look at the inner work and engage in service, and that will balance everything. Otherwise, there's no such thing as material equality. Prabhupada told us that over and over again. There's a division everywhere. Right. Like he said in that letter to me, there's the strong and the weak. It's just like that. So, but we don't care how it is. If I'm strong, you're weak, or this or that. Doesn't matter. What matters is we're all devotees. And we're just doing this according to our particular nature. That's all. It's not,
And what role can I play in this?
Exactly. Yeah, and how I can surrender myself. what condition I'm in, the particular kind of vehicle that I have now, how it can best be engaged in service to my Gurudev. And he's thinking in service to his Gurudev.
Right.
Right. So, okay. So that's the last Rath Yatra. Then there's one more. After I left Chicago, I hesitated to write him letters because I didn't want to bother him. Let's see. This is the final letter I received from Prabhupada.
Okay.
Dear Sri Govinda, please accept my blessings. I'm receiving your letter of January 20th, and I've examined the contents. I'm glad to hear you are enlivened at becoming editor of Back to Godhead magazine. This magazine must be edited very carefully. Nothing irresponsible should be printed because in the future, the articles of Back to Godhead will be taken as Vedic evidence. I am asking the GBC members to also concern themselves with the content of the magazine to assure it meets the standards I am describing. Hope this meets you in good health. This was when I was at 3764 Watsika Avenue. That was the temple. So anyway, within a month or so, the whole Back to Godhead was transferred to the East Coast. And I became life membership director, and we developed a big life membership program there. So that's the end of the letters.
So Prabhupada was referring to BTG practically as if it was Shastra or Smriti.
Right, that we should, because we were writing articles in terms of like, there's the current philosophy is this, and there's a pyramid of development. I forget the philosopher guy, psychologist philosopher. There were different comparing
Abraham Maslow, the pyramid
Maslow,
of
right, Maslow. And they were making articles comparing Krishna consciousness to that and how it fit in, and in different ways, writing articles based on standards that were happening in the world at that time. And they just went too far. And I was not in a position to reel it back. Maybe I gradually might have been able to do that, but they were just dug in. So I think the only way to alter it was to transfer it. So at that time, there's one Back to Godhead with me as editor-in-chief.
You said at what point did you go back to university and you wrote something on Plato's Republic?
That was 1990. I had left Badger and gone to Los Angeles to start a temple for Srila Sridhar Maharaj in the lifetime of Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
Well, you ended off, I think, our last session saying that you left with our godbrother Urukram.
Yes, right, exactly. Anyway, it worked out in such a way that it was impossible for me to continue financing the building that we had gotten. I'll tell you off the record the tragic, bizarre thing that happened. But anyway, so anyway, I was offered a job with Tulsi Das's painting company. They had these Hong Kong paintings, and I was selling them in LA.
I sold them.
I was very well organized, so they took it that I could help them in their new place in Chicago. They were opening a branch warehouse in Chicago, so they offered me a job. They paid for my move, and so I loaded up a big truck with the furniture and everything. And in our transit to Chicago from their warehouse was in one of the suburbs below Los Angeles. I forget exactly where. Anyway, we drove to Chicago, and during that, when we arrived in Chicago, we learned that Srila Sridhar Maharaj had departed. Yeah, so that was kind of a shock. But anyway, we continued there for about a year, maybe year and a half, and finally, somehow or other, I established different during Christmas, different sales places in malls all over the Midwest, from Buffalo all the way down to Springfield, Missouri. So I was driving around and setting all these things up, and we had to hire people locally. And there was, some of the people were ripping us off. It was difficult. So anyway, that ended. And at that time, after it ended, I decided, okay, I guess I'll go back to university and get trained. And I thought, well, I'll go to Northwestern, which was in Evanston, really a nice area, and where we had been before with the temple. And then I decided, well, I was going to get an MBA or something there and work in business and make money. Then I decided, you don't want to do that. You want to do something. So I decided I want to study about India. And so University of Chicago is where I went and dropped out of in 1968. So in 1990, I wrote them a letter, describing what I've done, where I'm at, and how I want to go back to learn. And they accepted me and gave me a full tuition scholarship. It was really cool.
Oh,
And yeah, so there was a class on Plato by the leading scholar on Plato, whose name, of course, I forget. But anyway, he was very unusual. He was very much wanted Plato's original teaching to be more established in Western society. So
yeah.
he was like a devotee of Plato.
Right. Plato Bhakta.
Yeah, right. And so I had a really good talk with him, and he, one time he asked the whole assembly. So there's a lot of people there, maybe 75 students or something, and he asked them, okay, who here believes in evolution? And everybody raises their hand, and then who doesn't believe? And I'm the only one who raises my hand. and then he says, oh, it's you. Well, I understand you, but the others. Then he goes on to show that there is real questions about evolution, and that we can't just that was one of Plato's points, is that you can't just blindly accept things. You have to have a dialogue and try to understand what's going on.
Right.
And so anyway, so I wrote an article about this was the Republic, but I think my article was because we read a couple other books before that, and one of them had Plato's cave in it. Well, you've heard of Plato's cave at all?
Yes, yes. The shadows were being put
Yes,
on the
right,
cave, and
right.
then someone came
Only
to
see a
in to say, "Hey, there's something called the sunshine. You should come and check it out."
Right,
And,
right. And there's in the sunshine, you see your real self, and you see the real objects that are only shadows in the cave.
uh-huh.
So it's almost like saying there's a spiritual realm where
Right.
which is like the Gita says, there is a tree reflected in a pond.
Mm.
So that tree, the real tree, is spiritual world, and the reflection is the material world. So it's all almost like that. So I compared the two in that
Nice.
way, and I think I got an A in the class.
Is
Anyway,
Plato's Republic, is it quoting Socrates or vice versa?
well,
I don't.
no, Socrates is like he's writing of Socrates, and he's the inspiration behind Socrates, Plato.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, I was there at Chicago. I finished in 3 years, and then decided I was going to get a PhD and be a teacher, because I was thinking, oh, I'll change the way the scholars approach India. But
Uh-huh.
I was kind of half burnt out by the time trying to do that with these people who have been around in scholarship in academia for 20 years. It was a difficult thing. So anyway, I decided that I wanted to, in my study in Chicago was South Asian Studies, which is basically social science, like politics, sociology, anthropology, stuff like that. And I also took 3 years of Hindi. And
Oh,
anyway,
really?
yeah, yeah. And anyway, so I decided to study religion. So I applied to the divinity school at Harvard and got accepted and they gave me half scholarship with half the tuition. So anyway, I went there for 2 years and finished my master's degree, studying under a really super guy, John Carmen, who was raised as a Christian in India. His parents were missionaries. And when he came back, he went to school and decided he would do his PhD on Ramanuja, who was the Vaishnava, Ramanuja Vaishnavism, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, Vishishta Advaita. So anyway, he was going to do it as a Christian to counter the you know, the teaching,
But he got influenced and became favorable.
he got influence, became favorable, and he saw that this devotion given by Ramanuja is almost exactly the same as the Christian devotion. So
Uh-huh.
he had that kind of mood. He said, I remain a Christian, but I have to appreciate and he also appreciated Krishna consciousness very much. So he helped me a lot because it's, to be a devotee and also be in academia is a difficult thing. I was too old to compromise and, say bullshit to get through or write bullshit. I just wouldn't do it. So he was helpful in helping me to accommodate the two things. This is what he had done.
Nice. I've heard it's even dangerous sometimes. And I don't know the exact arguments. Hridayananda Maharaj spent quite a bit of time at Harvard University, and I heard that he expressed some doubts about Draupadi's.
Exactly. When I was there, he was there studying Sanskrit.
Oh,
And yeah, he was I think I felt like he was too influenced by the circumstance. But then when he gave his PhD dissertation defense, I listened to it, and it was really nice. He talked about Srimad Bhagavatam based on the understanding of the Vaishnavas, that it is 5,000 years old. And a couple of the scholars challenged him, like, "Oh, you don't read the histories. The histories say it's 1,500 years, at least at the most 1,500 years." And he replied with specific quotes from the Bhagavatam that indicate astronomical positions,
uh-huh.
which
Interesting.
Indians have confirmed that those positions were 5,000 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So he defeated them. So
Good.
I appreciate, finally, I appreciated that.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen other devotees get involved. There was one devotee also who was maybe at Columbia. Anyway, I just felt that when you're in academia, they want to make you an academian. They don't
Uh-huh.
want you to be a devotee.
They don't
So
want practitioners. They want just in some ways, would you say they consider and to be an academic to be superior because
of
you're more
course,
objective?
yeah, they feel like that you're, if you're like detached, you can study it more objectively. But
Uh-huh.
my point was, how can you study something if you don't take into consideration the way in which the believers are perceiving things and following things?
Right.
How can you study religion without
Right.
understanding that? And
Right.
I fought them tooth and nail, and they really didn't have any reply to it, really. Um, but I finally went to UC Santa Barbara. I missed getting into Harvard for the PhD. I was the first on the wait list, but it didn't go through. But anyway, I went to UC Santa Barbara and got a fellowship there, which paid for all my tuition. And uh, uh, the first year I was engaged in constant battles, because that was a time when the academians were all going completely relativist. Like, everything is religion has all been made up by man, and we have to deconstruct it and reimagine. So these words that the academians were using then are now coming out in the practical application in America, in terms of applying. Like I saw this sign. We're going to reimagine the park, this particular park that was built in a certain way in the 1920s or something. But the idea is reimagine means it was imagined in the first place. So you reimagine a religion because it was imagination. So they were
Oh,
studying it in that context. And I refused to do that. And I
wow.
fought them. And I actually pinned them down every time, because relativism is self-contradictory. That means that if they say, oh, relativism, that's how it is, that's an absolute statement. It's not a relativist statement. You follow? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah. Can you
everything is
give an
relative.
example? Give a concrete example, please.
Well, just that statement itself, everything in academia is relative. It's all been like all the religions have been made up, right? And that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So they're saying it's the way it is, but
But that's absolute.
that's an absolute statement, exactly. So they're
Right.
contradictory. So the best
Very
they could do
good.
is say, well, we're soft relativists. So we were having to study Foucault and Derrida and all these relativists. And I said, why aren't we studying, Muhammad and Krishna and Buddha?
In
And they
Christ.
said, no, you have to first learn the proper context. And the context was relativistic. So I fought them, and finally I just dropped out. And
Wow.
I asked Srila Govindaraj what I should do, and he said it would be. I said I'm thinking to go to London, and he said, "Oh, it'd be good if you go to London." Then he looked at me and smiled, and he said, "At least it will not be bad." So I was thinking, "Uh-oh, what's going to happen?" So anyway, I had a T-shirt business where I was selling T-shirts at Pismo Beach, north of Santa Barbara. So I was able to raise enough money to pay for the plane fare and have money when I arrived in London. So we went. That was in the fall of 1997. I had finished Harvard in 1995 and was 2 years at UC Santa Barbara, and the PhD program before the thesis is developed. So I just left there and went to London to help Bhaktiananda Sagar Maharaj, who was Akshayananda in Prabhupada's time. And yeah, so
So
that
it's
that went
go
on. That went on for quite a few years. I was there in London assisting. First, I was in the temple full time, and then I became kind of like 3/4 time.
Okay, before you go further, I'd like to back up for a moment, please.
Okay, sure.
I'd just like to hear what is your advice to devotees who, are entering into the academic field, because I can understand your frustration that they were like suppressing you and telling you that you
Right.
had to jump through all these hoops and look at things from the relativistic point of view. I know myself when I went to the University of Ottawa to meet the dean of religious studies there,
Yeah.
uh, to see about giving some talks on Vaishnavism. And he said to me, he said, yes, religion is a necessary crutch
Right.
um, that people require in order to deal with the traumas of life. And I was shocked. I thought, you're the dean, the head of religious studies,
Right.
and you think religion is a crutch that man had to make up in order to
Right.
deal with what he can. And I thought, you're totally disqualified. Of course, I didn't say anything. I was just totally,
Right.
I was respectful towards the man, but I was shocked.
Well, that's like the middle the middle view, because at least they say that religion is worthwhile. That comes from the German Max Weber. He really liked religion, but he liked it because it helped order society. He didn't believe that it was really real. So in Chicago, there were some Weberians who I studied under, who were a little positive towards religion. But in my final bachelor's thesis, I wrote about Gandhi and Bhakti, and insisted that that Bhakti and religion and Gandhi's experience of Bhakti was real. He wasn't just utilizing religion as a tool for politics. That was my thesis, and
But yet, Prabhupada said that Gandhi was a saint amongst politicians and a politician amongst saints, right?
yeah, and I went through all of his papers, like 20 volumes, and took
Wow.
out everything because it's been indexed. So I took out every reference to Bhakti that he made, and it turns out his mother was a Vaishnava.
Really?
In the Vaishnavas in Gujarat are in the line coming from Vallabhacharya, who
Oh,
was with Chaitanya
is
Mahaprabhu,
that
but
Pushti
had
Mark?
that disagreement.
Pushti Mark?
Yes, Pushti Marg,
Yeah.
and who disagreed and went to Gujarat and started that line. So, and they're accepted as a bona fide line. And so anyway, she was in that line and taught Gandhi in that way. So he learned some things and really did appreciate bhakti. But he thought that he was of the mind, like everyone, like even Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj were like this when they were young, thinking that, oh well, before we can establish our religion, we have to establish our freedom. That was their thinking. And
Right.
Prabhupada raised that argument with Saraswati Thakur. And when Prabhupada talks about it, he says, Yes, and I was, totally defeated by my Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, so I've got a few quick questions. All right. So I've often thought, gee, Gora, once you get some kind of sign that you're going to have to be checking out, if Srimati Radharani wills, then let me go to Vrindavan to leave my body there. And I thought, but if you ever do go to spend some extensive time in India, it sure would be great if you knew Hindi. And then I don't know if it was Prabhupada or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that said, one day the day will come that people will want to learn Bengali just to read
Mhm.
to get the sweetness, the full sweetness of the
Right.
Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'm just wondering, I was just reminded, I get a call here once a day because I'm living in this little hick town and I don't see anybody. And so I have a company called Teleconnect, and they phone me every day at 3 o'clock. Hello, Gora. How are you today? How's your day going? Just
Really?
yeah, because I just find it kind of gets to me after a while not having. I was even listening to Prabhupada speaking on a tape the other day, and he was saying that you cannot stay alone forever. You need to be with others. You need to, enjoyment means two. And so anyway, I get a little, and also if I ever got sick or fell on the floor or whatever, if they don't hear from me in 4 days, then they come and they look for me. Sorry, I'm digressing right now, but
That's all right.
why am I oh yeah, so this gentleman was a local he said, "Oh, I know Erin. There's a lot of rich people here and there's a lot of poor people here." He said, "Yeah, it's true. It's a pretty redneck town." And he said he had taught at the local school for 15 years. And I said, and I told him how much I loved music and and I played him a couple of my tunes of the Hare Krishna mantra in different styles. And
Uh-huh.
he's a guitarist himself, and he
Uh-huh.
really liked it. And I told him how the Beatles got me into Krishna. Anyway, I said, I'd love to be able. I said one thing I really miss after having left the music world is the camaraderie of being with other musicians.
Yeah.
And like when we go on Harinam, we have that. But I'm an hour and a half from the Toronto Temple. I don't think they're doing a whole lot of Harinam in 20 below zero weather right now.
Right.
So he said, "Oh well, my son is at Sir Wilfrid Laurier University, and they have a great music program there." And I said, "Well, since I'm going on 68." I said, Would I get free tuition?" He said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "At Guelph University, it's 65, and at that university, it's 67." And I'm thinking, well, gee, Gora, what would that be like? Because like, I don't think you knew that you were a scholar when you started getting into the academic field, but it turned out you have that inclination. I'm not saying I'm a scholar, but I'm
You're a
entertaining these
musician.
ideas. Wouldn't it be interesting to learn Hindi and or Bengali? Wouldn't it be great to connect with some music students? Just like when I went to Cornell University 2 years back, I looked up in the curriculum, and one professor, Elizabeth Leon, she was teaching music and world religions. And I said, "Oh, so what are you teaching right now?" She said, "I'm teaching them Shabda Brahma and
Uh-huh.
the Sangita Ratnakar." I said, "Oh, wonderful." And I thought Sangeeta. I looked it up. Sangeeta Ratnakar. It's about all the Bharatnatyam steps. It's about all the ragas. And I thought, gee, I wish starting at 5 years old, I would have learned the Sangeeta Ratnakar because I would have loved to learn all the ragas to sing the Hare Krishna mantra in. So I'm just entertaining that thought. I thought, Gora, your whole life is going to change if you're going to come under the discipline of going to university. Your mom always wanted you to go, and you wanted to be a musician. And so 48, 47 years have gone by. I find myself in a little town far from any ISKCON temple. And what am I going to do with the rest of my life? So I guess I'm just reaching out to you right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what a fellowship is, and I don't know what a fellowship is compared to a scholarship. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are about going to university, learning Hindi. Is it better to learn Sanskrit because Hindi is included within that? And go
Yeah.
ahead. Those are some of my
The reason
questions.
why I took Hindi was that you in Hindi you learn the Devanagari script, which I knew was going to be a really big problem. So I wanted to to deal with the Devanagari and get a basic understanding of how it works before I went to Sanskrit, because I thought I'd be overwhelmed. So I took 3 years of Hindi at Chicago, and then I took 1 year of Sanskrit at Harvard and 1 year of Sanskrit at UC Santa Barbara. And then my plan was after that to take Bengali, but I never did. But my friend Lalita Madhava in
Oh,
London,
I've seen him, young man. Yeah.
yeah, he learned Bengali really well. He can translate really excellently,
Wow.
and he got a PhD with his thesis on Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I think I
Yes,
told
I
you.
heard him speak on Namarasa's program.
Oh, you
Yeah.
did, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm
Anyway,
just wondering what was your experience like being in, I mean,
well,
here you
I
are with the morning program managing a temple. Now you're with all these non-devotees, even though some of them may actually show some devotional inclination, correct?
well, as far as I'm concerned, if you can, make a goal that you're going to achieve through utilizing the education, that will motivate you more. And secondly, I think to take music is not it's not as kind of dangerous as studying religion, because I'm so involved in religion, and I'm not going to take any, I can't take any bullshit from coming from people who don't know what's going on
I know
in
what you're
that.
talking about, Maharaj, because I took a four-season permaculture design course 10 years back, and they showed us this beautiful movie called The Journey of the Universe. And Professor Brian Swim from University of California, I think in San
Berkeley,
Francisco.
huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
Berkeley, right? Yeah,
Okay.
and SWIMME, and beautiful cinematography, going into the oceans, going into the mountains, like really beautiful to see. And he makes reference to Darwinism and evolutionary theory, and and
Uh-huh.
the gist of it was that in the end, Gaia, Mother Nature, will reign supreme over all the fracking and all the exploitation. So it had some sattvic content. Anyway, there's 12 of us in this four-season permaculture design course. And I was in the same situation as you, where we go around in a circle. And also, what did you think, John, Mark, so and so, and Sangora? What were your thoughts on the movie? And I said, well, I love the cinematography. It shows the glory of nature. I said, however, I could never agree with Darwinism. I have a friend who's written the book Forbidden Archaeology, and it proves that there's a filter existing, a knowledge filter existing in the scientific community. If you don't agree with
Mhm.
Darwin, you lose your job, you lose your tenure. I accept the Vedic view that all 8,400,000 species. And I said also, you glorify Mother Nature, but if there is a Mother Nature, then there must be a Father or a God that impregnates Mother Nature in order to bring all these species into existence.
Mhm.
And
Uh-huh. Cool.
so my permaculture teacher, his name was Shantri Kasera, and his wife's name was Lorena, and she, I believe, fancied herself as a what they call ecofeminist, and she immediately attacked me and shut me down. I was surprised, and I said, "Well, what
Yeah.
about the father? This movie does not address at all the father aspect." Oh, Gora, don't mention God. As soon as you mention God, then immediately, I mean, the worst atrocities in the world have been done in the name of God. They burned witches at the stake because they were herbalists, and
Yeah.
and I had like nothing to say, and I was just kind of like shut
I could
up, and I
I
found it
could
was
say that
really, it
actually
was rude.
the worst atrocities were committed in this last century by people who didn't believe in religion. The Nazis and the communists. 20 million, 40 million in Russia, 20, I don't know how many million in Germany, but they, they can't say that it's religion. It's the distorted nature of materialistic uh, people. People become too materialistic. They go crazy with their protection. Stalin went crazy, and he killed his best officers and so many things like that. Anyway,
50 million, 50 million.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
of his
what
own people.
what was
Yeah,
burned at the stake is like in the thousands, if that. So
right.
There's no
And
comparison.
also with Dawkins and Richard Dawkins, I believe his name is,
Right,
and Christopher Hitchens, his protege, is they attack the wackos, the fanatics in Islam or in Christianity, and they point out, how this is such idiocy, but those people are not practicing religion. It's like a straw man argument. Do you know what I'm saying?
right, exactly. They have no idea what they're looking at. That's a big problem with and actually the study of religion is changing. The guy who's taken over at Harvard for my um, uh, my former professor and friend John Carmen, he's a Catholic, what is it? I forget the order, but it's not Benedictine. It's another order, but it's the scholarly
Augustine,
order. And
Justerian.
he's establishing the fact that religion must first be studied from the perspective of the believers, and
Uh-huh.
then secondarily studied from the perception of the non-believers. He's
Uh-huh.
really established it, and it's become
Cool.
more and more established throughout the whole world of religious studies and
Oh,
academia.
wow.
So it has changed a lot. Yeah.
Very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Satyaraj Prabhu has not interviewed him.
Yeah,
John
maybe.
John Carmen?
He was, I think he was friends with John Carmen, as a matter of fact, because John Carmen was writing for his Vaishnava
Okay, so he's in touch with him. Yeah.
newsletter. Yeah, he was. John Carmen was 20 years older than me, at least.
Okay.
He's
So
long gone.
so a word from the wise, I think, since you went through that whole field, is with something like you were saying, Hindi or Bengali, you're kind of safe there. But when you start entering into religion, you're going to have to be faced with so many atheistic concepts that are
Right,
really, it's
right.
going to be disturbing.
It's a battle, I think if I was younger, I would have just dug in and gone through it. But for me, I was in my mid 40s and then looking at digging in and fighting it, and then going through a whole PhD thing, another 10 years. Then I become a professor when I'm in my 50s. And then,
Right.
how long do I have after that? So I just said, anyway, better I focus on Krishna consciousness anyway.
Yeah.
This kind of battle isn't going to be won with one person, or it's not going to be won by someone who doesn't have stature, like a position as a professor or
Right.
with a
Right.
PhD. And they're gonna try and stop me from getting a PhD.
Right. Right. Right.
They
There's
were
a
fanatics.
statement
Yeah,
where
I'm serious.
Prabhupada said, I want all of my disciples to head up the departments of religion around the world. He wanted that, but that's
Right.
a tough
Well,
call.
maybe in 100 years. I, I think it's possible. I mean, there was open people amongst the students. Generally, everyone was in agreement about being open with studies, but
Hmm.
that professors become hardened and they're indoctrinated by the senior professors. But somehow or other, the newer professors in religious studies have broken the line. Anyway, Prabhu, we're totally distracted. Where are we?
Yeah, maybe I should ask you in my own time more about fellowship scholarships, Hindi and Sanskrit, all of that. Um,
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah, okay. One quick question regarding Scholarly World. Were you there? Were you in Chicago at the? Because I remember when I came in end of '75, one devotee that kind of stood out distinctly from all the book distributors, which was the real thrust, was Garuda Prabhu, who was going to University of Chicago or Northwestern University. Was he there at that time when you were there?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
He was
He
studying
was probably
religion.
going to Northwestern because Northwestern was just a couple blocks away.
Right.
Chicago would have been a long haul. You'd have to go downtown on the
Okay.
L and then
Yes,
catch a
Northwestern.
suburban train to Chicago and walk about a mile and a half to the campus. It
He played
would
he
take
played a
at
lute.
least over an hour, yeah, to get from the
He
temple.
played a lute, and Graham Schweig is his
Oh,
secular.
right. Yeah, I met him. He came to see Srila Govinda Maharaj. I met
Oh,
him.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't remember him from Chicago so much.
No, I don't think he was there at that time.
Okay. Yeah, well, he came in for sure I saw him in '76. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was gone by the middle of 75.
Okay, okay, that's why. That explains.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, great. Thank you very much for addressing all the wonderful, important instructions for us in Srila Prabhupada's letters to you. Just a quick question based on one of the things you said earlier about who did you say that? That Gandhi was related to the Pushti Marg.
Yes, his mother was a Vaishnava.
Right. And
Yeah,
so this Swami Narayan, which is also very popular amongst the Gujaratis, is
right.
was he also related to Pushti Marg?
It's Pushti Marg, and so Swami Narayan, I think, was the like the Acharya of Pushti
Okay.
Marg.
Because I
He's
heard he just
lost
started out
now.
as he started out as a bhakta, but then they made him like into an incarnation of Vishnu.
Is that well? The ones who are saying that are
They
not.
believe he's God.
I
Yeah,
don't know. That's a diversion.
yeah, for sure.
That's not the real thing because
Yeah.
there are genuine because and their line comes from what Vishnu Swami, which is the origin of that line.
Right,
Like
right,
Madhva is ours, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the real beginning, and then
right.
Ramanuja is there, and Nimbarka is there.
Hmm.
They're all bona fide. If he's claiming he's Vishnu, he's definitely gone off the deep end.
His disciples have claimed some have claimed
Yeah,
that over the
well,
years. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, you were covering quite a bit of ground there. All of a sudden you were going through university and then at some point you were already going to London and so I don't know if you want to continue with your arrival in London or whether you would like to yeah, well, where would you like to go?
well, probably let's go to talking about the Guardian of Devotion.
Okay, great. Do you want me to pull that up? I've got
Yeah,
it on.
sure, sure.
Okay, so screen share here. Let me just find the book. Uh, okay, not that one. Oh, there it is. Great. Okay, and yeah, I've got this. I think I read it like 20, 30, she's many, many years ago.
Right,
I've forgotten it since, but I remember when I saw it, I thought, wow, what a beautiful publication. It's embossed on the cover.
right.
It's got
Yeah,
this
Goswami
embossment.
Maharaj is a genius. He did like 5 or 6 really books that are like the backbone of Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Ma's mission now.
Now was this published under what's his name, Shreed at Mandala
No, no,
Printing,
this was published by Sudhir, Dear Krishna, who became Sudhir Goswami. Um,
right?
he had a temple in San Jose, and he bought a Heidelberg press, and they were doing the printing there. I think he got the embossing done outside, but pretty much he was editing it and transcribing it on a Mac. He's one of the first ones who were doing publishing
Oh,
completely
really?
on computer. Yeah, yeah, it was really early times for doing that, and he was breaking into that realm of publication. So he did this, then he did Search for Sri Krishna,
Uh-huh.
Sri Guru and His Grace, Golden Volcano, which is about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, I'd
It's
love to go
not,
through some of those books with you. I've got them. I haven't read them all. I was
it's
actually, I'll be honest with you. Which is a really weird saying because to say I'll be honest with you, oh, it means you weren't being honest before. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I've been afraid to read those books because I thought I might get so fired up. Like someone gave me a Narayan Maharaj book, I started reading it and there was like some incredible pastimes and I thought, gee, I got to be careful because if I was ever to give a class and I start quoting some of these amazing oh, where did where did you hear that from? And because sometimes in these books you don't actually get the original scripture that being quoted. It's just part of a because I heard that even Srila Sridhar Maharaj's books, he didn't really have books. He had the Bhagavad Gita, but that these are compilations
and
on what
he
he
did
spoke.
Prabhupada and Jivanamrita, which is
Right.
his
Also,
yeah.
also, Yeah, which I'd love to explore with you. I
Right.
think I want to have many sessions with you,
The
if that's possible.
Prabhupada Jivanamrita thing is, the way of surrendered souls, and it's just it's from the viewpoint of the different limbs of surrender. You know,
I'm ashamed to say I've got a copy here. It was given to me as a gift,
Mhm.
and I only got a little bit into it, and I got distracted by something else, but it's been sitting here on my shelf, so maybe we could address that another
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
This is Goswami Maharaj's first publication because
It- uh,
he was really intensely trying to convince the GBC and others that Srila Sridhar Maharaj would be such a so beneficial to the
Great
mission.
asset, great asset. Yeah,
If his great, if his kind mercy came upon the mission, and it would be worthwhile accommodating him. And there's so much confirmation about Prabhupada's actual reverence for him. And
nice.
Prabhupada really, they deeply loved each other. No question about it. And this is like, specifically more so than any, and he made it clear than any of his godbrothers. And as far as Srila Govinda Maharaj, I remember I was there in Mayapur when did the opening, and Srila Govinda Maharaj gave that speech. And then Prabhupada said, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he is my Shiksha Guru, and Govinda Maharaj, he is my dearmost son. He said that.
Oh, sweet,
Dearmost, yeah.
sweet, sweet. So I really like, I'm just noticing for the first time, even though I've had this book on my shelf as well for years, how Sudhir Maharaj, he's so nicely designed. If you look at the word guardian, it's like it's protecting the word devotion. It's
Mhm.
very, very well, intelligently done.
Yeah, yeah.
Guardian is in,
Because his name, Bhakti Rakshak
right,
Sridhar, Rakshak
right.
is protection,
Yes, yes,
right? So he's the, Bhakti Rakshak, protecting Bhakti.
yes, yes.
Sridhar, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj.
The
And he
guard,
also has said like that. I think my Guru Maharaj wanted me to be the gatekeeper. I am
nice.
not so, he's always saying, I am not so high that I am going in, but I am keeping the gate very nicely for my Guru
What a
Maharaj.
humble thing to say.
Well, he really thinks like that.
Wow.
There's uh, Madhava, who I think he was a sannyasi when he came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He's a scholar. He was with the scholarship. What's that scholarship program called? Um, the I forget the ISKCON scholarship program.
Oh, there's Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti
No,
Vaibhava,
no, I'm
Bhakti
talking about the
Shambhava.
group
Bha-
that were like PhDs who studied
Oh, the
and
Bhaktivedanta Institute?
Bhaktivedanta Institute. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he was a part of that, and he became, uh, a disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
Yeah,
And
he's Madhava Puri Maharaj. I'd love to do
so,
a talk with
so
him too.
he's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
I've reached out to him. I'm trying to reach out to all the Bhaktivedanta Institute scientists to say, why aren't we attacking the pseudoscience which has overwhelmed the entire planet at this time?
Yes, yeah. He's got a lot of followers who are doing many things, going to universities and dismantling the theory of evolution and things like that. But anyway, what I wanted to say was that he had gone to ISKCON, and they had challenged him and said, "Do you believe that the GBC is absolute?" And he said, "No, because they think they're absolute." And then and then do you believe Sridhar Maharaj is absolute? And he said, yes, because he doesn't think he's absolute.
Oh wow, what a great answer.
Pretty
Brilliant.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. I've
So
only
the
talked with him a few times. He's a brilliant devotee. He
I,
lives
I
in,
told I told them how I had helped Sadaputa in the area. I set up 3 university clubs at 3 campuses, and with the little bit of funding I got, I paid for a ticket to fly Sadaputa in. And because I established these clubs, I got the use of gigantic lecture theaters, which
wow,
would
wow.
cost me thousands of dollars. But because I had established clubs,
Right.
I had these, and so I invited Sadaputa to speak at them, and I told him to bring a few boxes of mechanistic and non-mechanistic science. And then I contacted every biologist chemistry and physics professor to
Uh-huh.
invite them to come. And I got pretty packed places, but
Really?
and we sold up a lot of his books. But in the end, I was really sorry because I didn't do any follow up on after all that effort, and that's important as well. But that when I told Madhava Puri Maharaj what I'd done with Sadaputi, he said, "Oh, you should come here to Princeton and help me
Uh-huh.
at the branch of Bhaktivedanta Institute at Princeton." So
Right. He's very
maybe
actively engaged. And I don't know exactly what he's doing, but he's not idle.
no, he's got videos out there. I would love to go and visit him, whatever little service I could do. If they let me go across the border without ramming something up my
All
nose
right.
or
That's a problem though. Yeah.
trying to stick
Well,
some poison in my arm.
anyway,
Okay.
bro, let's get into this Guardian of Devotion.
A chronicle of a transcendental relationship is divine grace. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami, founder Charya of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. Wow, gorgeous deities.
Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar.
Wow, and beautiful Mahaprabhu.
Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar.
Guru Govinda,
No. Guru Gauranga
Guru Garanga.
Gandharva, who's Radharani, Govinda Sundar, who's Krishna. So the
Wow,
Guru is there, Gauranga is
Gandharva
there,
Govinda.
Gandharva is there, and Govinda Sundar is there. Yeah.
Hmm. That's at the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat in
Navadvip,
Navadvip.
yeah.
Shri Guru Gora Gandharva Govindan Grin Ganai Saha Vande Prasadato Yesham Sarvaramba Shubhankaraha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srimati Radharani, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Govinda, accompanied by their respective associates. All invocations become auspicious by their mercy. Did you
They
want to
call
read?
they call him Sri Govinda, and in that and there was Srila Govinda Maharaj. So I thought to myself, I always was wondering, why did Prabhupada name me Sri Govinda Das? I was Bob. And then my son-in-law went through Prabhupada's letters and found the day before Prabhupada wrote my letter of initiation, he wrote a letter to Srila Govinda Maharaj.
Oh,
So,
okay.
it's possible that
Possible,
he
sure.
foresaw the future connection, perhaps. I mean, I believe in those things.
Why not? Would you like to read take turns reading, read a page each? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. You want to go in that much detail, huh?
It's up to you. It's your call. I would like
Uh,
to. I would
okay,
like to.
okay, sure. I'll read the first page, you read the
And
second,
and,
so
and,
on.
and you're and please be free to make any comment that anytime you want to embellish or expand, go for it.
Yes. Okay, forward. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the postgraduate study for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, begins with the invocation, Bande Gurun. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters. Therein, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami reveals that the full blossoming spiritual conception comes to embrace a plurality of gurus. The scriptures in general present a very broad and universal conception of Sri Guru, laying stress on the spiritual substance, the divine current of nectar that flows down to this plane from the highest domain through the inspiration that is found in the heart of a real Vaishnava. To deny divine revelation through another agent in the name of being chaste to one's guru can be offensive and even suicidal. I mean, this is Srila Goswami Maharaj. He's telling it like it is. If we saw in so many cases people who were heavily offensive to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they had much difficulty in Krishna consciousness.
Hmm.
And I won't name names, but anyway, it was the case that we saw a lot.
I get
As
it.
Guru is the functioning principle of divinity revealing himself in this world, according to our different stages of realization, he may appear in different forms. The chastity of a disciple is demonstrated in recognizing the divine presence of Sri Guru wherever it is found, and bowing his head at the lotus feet of the agent through whom divinity is so kindly revealing himself. The true chastity of the Braja Gopis was shown in the answer of the flute call of Sri Krishna in the dead of night, although apparently abandoning their husbands to do so. Yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti sangyami. So while some are sleeping in the bodily conception of Sri Guru, others are awakening to the inner dimension of his divine personality.
His Divine Grace, Srila
His
Bhakti
divine
Rakshak.
grace.
Oh, sorry. Did you want to continue?
Yeah, no, you go.
His
You
Divine
go.
Grace, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj writes in Sri Guru and His Grace, we must not identify our Guru with the appearance we perceive with our physical senses. Our inner identification of him will be clarified according to the growth of our vision. When our vision increases and takes shape from material to transcendental, his look will also change accordingly. Otherwise, what we see will be based on a material conception, and to force the material conception onto divinity is a crime. It is ignorance. It is erroneous. We have to free ourselves from the snare of identifying reality with the physical form presented to our senses. By eliminating the external conception, we have to enter into the internal. And that will be all important to a progressive disciple if we want to go to the inner world of substance. In proportion to the depth and intensity of our inner hankering for a connection with divinity, our conception of Guru will expand. In separation from Sri Krishna, the gopis began approaching even the trees and inquiring, where is Krishna? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, quote, the reflected form of the lotus feet of Sri Guru in different receptacles constantly reveals many new matters for our instruction, unquote. For those whose divine eyes is awakened, they will find traces of divinity everywhere and in everything. It is our hope that the readers of this small booklet will approach the contents with an attitude of humble submission and an open heart, and we pray that their attachment to the lotus feet of Sri Guru may be increased. Bhakti Sudhir Goswami.
I want to say Srila Govinda Maharaj told that Goswami Maharaj should have made it clear that inner revelation and experience of Sri Guru should be confirmed by the instruction of our Gurudev. So we were pointed towards Srila Sridhar Maharaj. In that way, we got the instruction from Prabhupada. It's clear in his will. And we found a pure Vaishnava and stayed at his lotus feet. But in that way, we're following according to our inner inspiration, but also that inner inspiration is confirmed by our Guru outside. That that's it's important because we can't see very clearly. We have to now it's more difficult because there as far as we can see, there's no like great pure Vaishnava present. So we have to understand as best we can according to our own perception and try to be sincere. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, sincerity is undefeatable. If you're sincere, you'll never be defeated. We have to have that kind of confidence that we want Krishna, we want surrender, we want service to our Gurudev, service to Srila Prabhupada, service to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We want that inside, and we try to make that our main priority in life. Even though we may be doing things like having a job or doing this and that, it's still the long-range direction towards spiritual Krishna conscious development must be there always. And if it's always there, if we try to make it always there, we can't be stopped. Once I was standing, I had just taken sannyas. I was standing in London outside the room Srila Govinda Maharaj was in, and he came out, and I'm standing kind of down on the staircase, and he's up on a higher level. Yeah. He walks by and looks down at me and smiles and says, "We can never be defeated." I was like, "Whoa, I'll go with that."
Why do you think he said that at that time?
because I was desperately trying to find a bigger building for London, and I was not
Oh,
having success. I was finding obstacles everywhere. But
okay.
yeah, but eventually we did find, with the help of particularly Lalita Madhava Prabhu, and oh my gosh, uh,
You mean the present Sripad
The West London Temple. We got, yeah, he helped, gave half the cost, and
Madhava Puri Maharaj gave half the
no,
cost?
no, but Lalita Madhava Prabhu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, Lalita Madhava Prabhu. He has a father who owned the printing press in Singapore that Hansaduda and others used for printing.
Okay.
And
Okay.
he was very genius businessman. Finally, he sold his business, and he's just retired and has, funds. So Lalita Madhava, I believe, was able to talk to him and get him to, kind of through Lalita Madhava to give that for the.
The same one that did the Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Lalita Madhava Prabhu.
So can
He's
you say,
younger.
yeah,
He's probably late 20s.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. You said he's retired, he's rich. I'm like, what? Is that young kid, that young guy?
And
Yeah.
there's also Bharati Maharaj, and he also gave half. He's Russian and
Okay.
a business genius, and
Oh,
he has followers in Russia, many of whom were initiated by Srila Acharya Maharaj, who was the Indian Acharya for our mission, who left his body due to a heart attack that he had while he had COVID.
uh-huh.
Anyway, Bharati Maharaj gave half, and Lalita Madhava Prabhu gave half. So we paid for the temple. How much was it? I believe it was around 500,000 pounds.
Wow. Wow.
$700,000. It's paid outright. It was
Wow.
amazing. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Um,
anyway, here's Prabhupada seated with Srila Sridhar Maharaj at the Mayapur opening, and there's Govinda Maharaj at the microphone, probably chanting.
yes, this is 1975.
Yeah, I believe so. So maybe 74, but probably 75. I don't remember that clearly. And this Govinda Maharaj gave the main speech because Srila Sridhar Maharaj was not feeling well. He was tabbed to make the speech, but Govinda Maharaj made the speech, and in that he quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam about, I think I told you before, about how is it possible that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is crawling in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj? How can it be? Who can understand that kind of mood? He quoted that, and when he quoted that verse, Krishnadas Babaji, who was a godbrother of Prabhupada's
Wait,
and Srila Sridhar
I met
Maharaj,
him. I met
yeah,
him.
and he leapt up and said, "Hori!" He leapt up in the air when Govinda Maharaj said that. And Govinda Maharaj went on to say, and so we knew Abhay Babu for so many years. We lived with him. He was like a father to me. But that Abhay Babu would become Bhaktivedanta Swami and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Who can imagine? Who can have ever imagined, understood? It is unspeakably amazing what he has done. He spoke like that. And
You were present. You were present
yeah,
for this.
yeah.
Wonderful.
I don't remember clear now. I've seen the
No,
part of it.
I've read it before, but it's wonderful you were there.
Yeah, yeah. I was there. And also earlier I was there. Maybe I told you this before. I forget. We went on Parikrama to Navadvip. I told you that, right? We went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, only to Srila
Yes.
Sridhar Maharaj's
Yes.
place. And there was an asan that we brought for Prabhupada, and Sridhar Maharaj Center also at that time. Anyway, so they were very close.
Nice.
No question. As can be seen here. I mean,
Wonderful thing.
yeah.
Editor's note, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami is affectionately addressed by his disciples as Srila Prabhupada, and His Divine Grace Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj is known to his disciples as Srila Guru Maharaj. However, since they both referred to their spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada throughout the text, in order to avoid ambiguity, we have referred to them by their sannyas names.
So Prabhupada's sannyas, we never knew this, but his sannyas name is Swami. We all
Right,
thought it was a title, but no, it's one of the 20 sannyas names that
right.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave.
Uh-huh.
Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Like I'm Bhakti Vigraha Nyasi. So he
Uh-huh.
was Bhakti Vedanta Swami. And
Mm-hmm.
he combined the Bhakti Vedanta Swami. And it just, we all took it like, oh, it's the Swami. And he presented himself like that because that was very accessible and, just a wonderful thing.
Would you like to continue, Marsh?
Well, you can read now, huh?
Shiksha Guru, our relationship is very intimate. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj first met sometime in the year 1930 in Allahabad, India. In a tape conversation recorded in a 1973 meeting at Srila Sridhar Maharaj's mat at Navadvip Dham, Bhaktivedanta Swami recalls, quote, "So we are very fortunate to hear His Divine Grace Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. My age and my experience in both waves, he is senior to me. I was fortunate to have his association since a very long time, perhaps in 1930, something like that. At that time, he did not accept sannyas. He just left home, and as a vanaprast in his white dress, he went to Allahabad. I just like to make a quick comment and say I had the good fortune. My marriage had ended in 88, and I went to India in 89 because I was feeling pretty broken up and
Mm.
confused. And when I got to Brindavan, oh, are you going to go to the Kumbh Mela? And I like, well, I didn't really know about that. Oh, yeah, you should go to the Kumbh Mela. Okay. So I got on the train and it was in Allahabad. And there I
Wow.
visited the Gaudiya Math temple that Srila Prabhupada allegedly helped to establish. Is that
Uh-huh.
yes?
I don't know the story.
Yeah, I was told that when Prabhupada was doing his chemistry, his work as a chemist, with his funds, he helped to establish that
Didn't
temple there.
ISKCON have a place also? I thought ISKCON had a place at Kumbh Mela.
Mm, oh yeah, no, we had a stage there. We had 5,000 people coming for prasadam
Okay, okay,
every
yeah,
day. It was
right.
amazing. Lokanath Swami said to me, Goraji, why don't you go and talk to the people? And I'm looking out at an audience of 5,000 people. I said, Maharaj, what am I going to say to them? He said, oh, just tell them how you came to Krishna. I said, well, I think most of them probably only understand Hindi. He said, I'll translate for you. So
Aha,
I went to the mic and I started just speaking a little bit, and I saw the people's faces were like bright and they were like into it. And then I
yeah,
started quoting, Sarvadharman Parityaja, and they go, Haribol! And I thought, wow, no wonder Jai Pataka Swami and Chutananda Swami, so many came to preach in India, because nowhere in the West are you going to get a captive audience like this where people are
yeah.
just eating it up. So I just started getting on a roll. And then finally looking at Mara, I said, okay, Gora, that's enough. We have to have it done. At first I
Carry
was
on, yeah,
nervous, but I saw how receptive the people were. Wow. And that
yeah,
was in Allahabad. Wonderful memory.
yeah.
Yeah. So Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami,
No, you
let's
already read that.
okay, thank you. To
To
Sridhar
Sridhar Maharaj.
Maharaj, to Sridhar Maharaj. Maharaj, I think you remember the incident when you went to Allahabad on that auspicious occasion. We were connected. There is a long story. It will take time, but I had the opportunity of associating with Sridhar Maharaj for several years. Krishna and Prabhupada liked him to prepare me.
That's a
Sridhar Maharaj,
very amazing, important statement
yes,
that the teachings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj prepared Prabhupada for his coming to America. That's
yes.
and it was arranged by the will of Saraswati Thakur. Such a
Hmm.
beautiful thing, huh?
Yes, yes. How could you not love Srila Prabhupada without loving one of his inspirations, big inspiration for him,
I
Srila
mean,
Sridhar?
I think it's, uh, in my opinion, people who remain didn't come to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I don't see a problem. I think I was exceptionally fortunate, but at the same time, people who feel like, oh, I need to stay true to my duty to Srila Prabhupada. I can see that. They
Right.
had some duty within ISKCON. Like I said, if I was in Chicago still, I would have stayed.
Sure.
I would have visited Srila Sridhar Maharaj, no doubt. But I would have stayed in my duty,
But
So
through the
I
age,
honor people.
yes, through the agency of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Jagadish Prabhu, and Tripurari Swami, they help to usher you into another phase of your life.
Yeah. I was like dragged out screaming.
Yeah, we can't always understand how Krishna is working.
Exactly. That's what I say to people. Even you have difficulty now, there's some reason behind it.
Right.
And you may or may not know in the future, but chances are you will. You'll see, oh, Krishna did this to me so that I would become like this. It is a wonder how Krishna is our friend and he's always with us. How does, we have to think like that and simultaneously think,
Yes.
oh, it's Maya. This is not where we're supposed to be. No place for a gentleman. And simultaneously, Krishna is everywhere. He's working through this, through, both things. Achintya Veda, Veda, Tata.
That was the message that Krishna sent with Uddhava when he went to visit the gopis. Do not think that I am ever absent for a moment. I am all pervading. I'm always with you. Sridhar Maharaj lived in my house for many years. So naturally, we had very intimate talks, and he was my good advisor. I took his advices, instructions very seriously because from the very beginning, I know that he is a pure Vaishnav, a pure devotee, and I wanted to associate with him and try to help him also. Our relationship is very intimate. So when I've sometimes told this story, that Tripurari Maharaj said, well, GBC said either I had to reject Sridhar Maharaj or I needed to leave ISKCON. Rather than to reject a Mahabhagavat, I followed the GBC and I left ISKCON. When I've said that to someone, they said, oh, how do you know that Sridhar Maharaj is a Mahabhagavat? Well, Prabhupada saying it.
Prabhupada just said it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what can be said? Like I said, you come into the presence of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's speaking Bengali, or he actually knew how to speak Sanskrit, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Yeah. In his village, it's a Brahmin village, and they speak Bengali, very high Bengali. What is it called? Sadhu Bhashya. And but they also speak Sanskrit. It's part of what they learn it from very early speaking Sanskrit.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Amazing village, Brahmanpur, which means Brahmanpur, the place of the Brahmins.
Very nice. Did you want to take a turn? Did you want to take a turn?
Okay. Yeah, herein we find the history of a transcendental relationship between these two pure devotees of the Lord. Addressing Sridhar Maharaj as his divine grace and Om Vishnu Pad, forms of address for one regarded as a spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Swami has transcended the norms of social etiquette and superficial formality. Intimately associating together for a concentrated period of over 5 years, often for 5 to 7 hours daily, Bhaktivedanta Swami considered that Krishna and Prabhupada liked him to prepare me for his future expansive missionary activities in the Western world. While remembering their intimate talks specifically in regard to Bhagavad Gita, Srila Sridhar Maharaj recalls the depth in penetration of their discussions. Once, while discussing the verse, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena ma upayantite, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. I submitted to him, this is Srila Sridhar Maharaj speaking, I submitted to him that here, upayanti is indicative of the parakhiya rasa, the paramour relationship. On this point, he agreed with me, saying, yes, at this point, there cannot be anything but the parakhiya rasa of Braja. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita must come to this. Can you move down?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment on that.
Yeah.
Mahabudhi Prabhu, he comments how he was walking on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada, and he asked him if he knew this verse, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Purvakam, and Prabhupada said, you should repeat this verse. And he said, yes, Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada went, every day?
Uh-huh.
He said,
Wow, how
yes,
cool.
Srila Prabhupada every day.
Oh,
Please continue.
let me tell a story about being on a walk with Prabhupada in Vrindavan real quick, because it's important.
Jai.
When
Can you just raise your, can you
oh,
just lower your screen? Yeah, I want to get your
sorry
full
about
face
that.
there.
I'm
Thank you. Yeah, so
slumping
you're on a
down.
morning walk. What year was this?
I believe it was probably 73. No,
Okay,
74, because Krishna Balaram was built. So 73,
okay.
it wasn't built, I believe. Anyway, we're walking along, morning walk. Prabhupada is saying a little bit here and there. Then suddenly he stops and we all stop. Prabhupada turns around and I'm sure he was looking at me, but maybe it was one of those things where he was looking at everybody simultaneously. And he said, because somebody came up and offered obeisances. Nama Om Vishnu Vadaya, Krishna
Yeah.
Prasad, like that whole, and Prabhupada looked and said, actually, the Sanskrit is not proper. One day, one of my disciples will correct it.
Uh-huh.
Looked right at me and said that. And I'm thinking, I don't know Sanskrit. I've never. And later, I told my friend Sagar Maharaj, and he told Srila Govinda Maharaj, I was there, and Srila Govinda Maharaj said, I'm his disciple. I can do. But
Huh.
this beautiful prayer for Srila Prabhupada. It's like masterful Sanskrit. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. I've heard it sung before too. So my
Yeah.
question is, those two mantras that we chant, Namo Vishnu Padaya Namaste Saraswati Devi, did Prabhupada make those up himself, or who wrote those? Who made them?
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale is the prayer that they said to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur on bowing
Right.
down. Prabhupada just inserted his own name,
Right.
but it wasn't proper Sanskrit in doing so. So Srila Govinda Maharaj made it Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Swami Sri Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupadaya Te Namaha. That's
Huh.
proper Sanskrit.
So, but that wasn't done till later after Prabhupada departed,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This was done in like 83, I believe,
I see.
something
And
like
na
that.
and Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine, did that come from Prabhupada, or where
Well,
did it come?
that was like a Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Pracharine. Um, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know where
You
do
know,
those
you
come.
know, Srila Govinda Maharaj said, Paschatya Pracharine, right? What? No, what is it?
Paschat Paschatya Desha Tarine.
Prachatya Desha,
Paschatya.
so all over the Western Desh. But Srila
Right.
Govinda Maharaj's prayer says Paschatya Prachutarane, the East and the West.
Oh, that's what that means.
Yeah, yeah. Paschatya Prachutarane. So he added the East also because Prabhupada did. He turned India back to religion.
That's
In,
right.
in the early 70s, India was mostly following Nehru, who
Wow.
said that Indian religion will be dead in one generation.
Wow.
That was his declaration. Indian religion is so backward. And there was so many followers of Nehru. I remember people coming up to me and saying, you couldn't be following this nonsense. You're CIA. They're convinced it's all nonsense. Why are these Americans here? They're CIA. They couldn't be following that. It's all
Wow.
backward.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, so maybe sometime later I can read that prayer. But anyway,
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah, we'll get it up on the screen for sure. Okay. All right. Recognizing Shridhar Maharaj.
Okay. Recognizing Sridhar Maharaj as pure Vaishnava, a pure devotee, since the beginning of their relationship, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami has highly valued his instructions and advice. He would often consult with him regarding the spiritual significance of his failing business and family relationships. As an example of how Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada tried to help Sridhar Maharaj in his preaching work is seen in his appreciating Sridhar Maharaj's uncanny ability for extracting the essence of the scriptures. He helped to finance the publication of Sridhar Maharaj's original Sanskrit Bengali work entitled Prapana Jivanamrita, the Nectar of Surrender. Jiva, there's Jiva there also, which means the nectar of the surrendered souls. The book, as well as is containing original Sanskrit verses composed by Sridhar Maharaj, is a compilation of verses from various Vaishnava scriptures, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, and includes excerpts from the works of Rupa Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraj. It is divided according to the 6 divisions of surrender. Constantly associating, whether in Allahabad, Calcutta, or other parts of India, Bhaktivedanta Swami and Sridhar Maharaj's relationship continually developed. You know, there's a story also, both Prabhupada and Srila Maharaj, and maybe it was Madhava Maharaj, I'm not sure, opened the Gaudiya Math in Bombay together. Oh, there it is, Prabhupada Jivanamrita. Yeah, beautiful, unbelievably beautiful work by Sridhar Maharaj. It was his masterpiece.
I'd love to go through this with you.
Yeah, we can do.
Next one.
Constantly associating with Allahabad, Calcutta, or parts of India, Bhaktivedanta Swami and Sridhar Maharaj's relationship continually developed. Bhaktivedanta Swami continues to recall their meeting. So next page. That's Srila Maharaj in the late 20s, early 30s.
Jai. O Saragrahi Vaishnav soul, thou art an angel fair. In my householder life, I had opened an office in Bombay for our business. This is Prabhupada speaking, right?
Yeah, Prabhupada. I didn't know it was going to come up.
Yeah. The Bombay Gaudiya Math was established by Sridhar Maharaj and myself. We made 2 parties for begging, collecting alms. Srila Maharaj, myself, and Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj. So I took them to my chemist friends and I collected about 500 rupees. Sridhar Maharaj would speak, I would introduce, and Goswami Maharaj would canvass. In the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Satsvarup Das Goswami writes, Abai would often accompany Sridhar Maharaj and his assistants at preaching programs where he would play the mridanga. And when Sridhar Maharaj fell ill, Abai led the other devotees on preaching engagements, performing kirtan, playing mridanga, and giving lectures on the Bhagavatam. Your turn.
While still in Bombay, Bhaktivedanta Swami and Sridhar Maharaj were the receiving party for a Gaudiya Math sannyasi upon his return from Europe. Although dismayed by his changed appearance, which was missing the tridanda of a Gaudiya sannyasi, the shikha of a Vaishnava, as well as the traditional robes, they still eagerly inquired in regard to the preaching field in the West. The sannyasi remarked, they ask questions that cannot be answered. Concerned, Bhaktivedanta Swami inquired further as to the nature of those questions. One after another, Sridhar Maharaj answered them all. At last, the sannyasi was left dumbfounded, and Bhaktivedanta Swami boldly declared, today Europe has been defeated by Asia. During the lifetime of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Sridhar Maharaj once composed a poem describing the ontological position of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the line of disciplic succession stemming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so pleased with the poem's ontological depth and its happy style that he remarked, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written this through him. Now I am satisfied that although I may go, at least one man remains behind who can represent my conclusions. That's amazingly significant. So all his godbrothers knew this. There's another incident that will be described about just before Srila Saraswati Thakur departed. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was asked to sing a song. But
right, I've heard that story, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So one man who's left behind. So all of the sannyasis who were brahmacharis took sannyas from Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
Wow.
Kesava Maharaj, Madhava Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj, and many others. He had many sannyas disciples.
Except our Prabhupada, because he said his wife would be angry at Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
Exactly. He was afraid that their family would come and stone him or something. Yeah. So I think he wanted to do it quietly at a later time or something. Prabhupada was angry. He wanted to take immediately. So Sridhar Maharaj says, you can go and take from Kesara Maharaj. He has got sannyas from me. So it's in Sridhar Maharaj's line. Yeah.
Right.
After the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Gaudiya Math gradually diverged.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, Maharaj. You just jumped a little bit ahead there.
Oh,
At
sorry.
least then in further.
Oh, yeah, but right. In further appreciation of Sridhar Maharaj's writings, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur informed the editors of the Gaudiya Math periodicals, if you include articles written by Sridhar Maharaj, the quality of your publications will be greatly improved. After the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Gaudiya Math gradually diverged. With full knowledge of the events surrounding the disintegration of the Gaudiya Math, Bhaktivedanta Swami told his disciples in the same 1973 conversation, our relationship is very intimate. After the breakdown of the Gaudiya Math, I wanted to organize another organization, making Sridhar Maharaj the head. So Prabhupada wants to organize a preaching organization with Sridhar Maharaj leading it. What does that indicate? Reciprocating the appreciation, Sridhar Maharaj advised the leaders of Gaudiya Sangha to confer the title Bhaktivedanta upon Abhay Charan. Later, his sannyas guru, Sripad Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj, one of the senior most disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and the first sannyas disciple of Sridhar Maharaj. Next page. There's Sridhar Maharaj in that. Anyway, gave sannyas to Abhay Charan, retaining the title Bhaktivedanta and conferring the sannyas name Swami. So Sridhar Maharaj would give titles to grihastas or brahmacharis. So like Madhusudan Maharaj previously was Bhakti Ranjan Mahananda Prabhu. So he became Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj. And there are others who had similar titles, like trying to think of others. Anyway, maybe 5 or 6 grihastas were giving titles, and that title was transferred to it was always began with bhakti, and it was transferred to the 2 first titles of the sannyas name. So the significance in that, where it comes from, I never heard. I assume Saraswati Thakur also, maybe I heard a story, Saraswati Thakur also conferred that on, but I don't remember clearly.
So do you know who else is in this photo besides Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur?
No, I don't. I know Sridhar Maharaj is in the second row on the far right.
Oh, okay, that's him. And then just to the left of him, I remember seeing his name mentioned before. I forget who he is though. I've seen a photo of him.
I'm not sure. I don't know any of these. I really have not studied the disciples of Saraswati Thakur and the godbrothers of Prabhupada and Sridhar Maharaj.
Additionally, when Bhaktivedanta Swami returned to India in October of '67, after his successful preaching initiative in America, he stayed with Sridhar Maharaj in Navadvip and observed his Vyasa Puja celebration. At that time, Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote a letter to a disciple saying, quote, yesterday we have all come to Navadvip Dham. This place is an establishment of one of my godbrothers. It is a very nice and extensive place. And my godbrother, B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, has spared one entire house for our stay. He has also agreed to cooperate with our society. We shall observe his birthday celebration, and the brahmacharis shall learn how to celebrate the spiritual master's birthday. Shortly afterwards, Bhaktivedanta Swami asked Sridhar Maharaj to be the president of his newly formed society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Wow. Now I am satisfied that although I may go, at least one man remains behind who can represent my conclusion. Bhaktisiddhanta.
I don't know if they have it, but Saraswati Thakur, a few days before he departed, He wanted to hear the very high song, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, which is the song for the Manjaris, the head Manjari, Rupa Manjari. And there was very good singers and kirtan people there, but he asked for Sridhar Maharaj to sing. And
Right.
Sridhar Maharaj came in and began singing, and some of the senior godbrothers said, "Oh, let Puri Maharaj, old Puri Maharaj was an excellent kirtan. Let Puri Maharaj sing." And Puri Maharaj started to sing. Saraswati Thakur said, "No, I want to hear Sridhar Maharaj."
Wow.
And
Yes,
they
I've
took
heard
it
that.
at that time as a transference from Saraswati Thakur to Sridhar Maharaj. Many of his disciples took it like that.
Seeing him as successor, you mean?
Well, as not a structural successor, but at least an inner representative.
Uh-huh. Here it says that Sridhar Maharaj is in the third row on the right, but you were saying the
Oh, the
second
third
row.
row on the right?
But
Uh,
but it looks like it's more
that's not
the
Sridhar Maharaj.
middle
That
one,
guy on
like
the
you
far
said.
right, no. That's definitely not Sridhar Maharaj with the hair. He never had hair in Gaudiya Math.
No,
I was
no.
told that was Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Maybe they're counting
It
the
looks
row
like,
as the little kids as one row or something.
oh, maybe. Okay. Your turn, I think, isn't
Anyway,
it?
okay. So during the Vyas Puja celebration, one of Bhaktivedanta Swami's disciples saw Bhaktivedanta Swami and Sridhar Maharaj fully absorbed in a deep discussion in Bengali. The disciple inquired from Bhaktivedanta Swami, what was the nature of their talk? And he replied, if I were to tell you, you would faint. Sridhar Maharaj has very high realizations.
Utananda Prabhu said that was him.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's Utananda Prabhu. And Ramanuja, my old friend, was there also. That Bhaktivedanta Swami continually regarded Sridhar Maharaj as his advisor throughout his life is clear in the following letter written to him by one of Sridhar Maharaj's disciples, Sripad Govinda Maharaj. Concerned about his failing health, he had written Sridhar Maharaj asking whether he should continue living in the United States or return to India to live his last days in Vrindavan. After receiving Sridhar Maharaj's reply, he wrote, what Sripad Sridhar Maharaj has directed, I take on my head. He is my always well-wisher. After the departure of Prabhupada, it is appropriate that I should accept his direction. I got direction from him, and I shall live in this country forever. Because Srila Sridhar Maharaj told him, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan.
Srila Prabhupada said that to our Prabhupada.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj said that to our Prabhupada.
Right.
Maharaj, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it is said that one's preaching contribution can be judged according to the number of temples established, devotees converted, and books published and distributed. Sridhar Maharaj traveled and preached extensively all over India, personally accompanying Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for many years. Nearly 50 years ago, he established Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math on the banks of the Ganga in Navadip Dham, which is now a thriving institution. It should be noted also that Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math, it doesn't say Gaudiya Math, it's a separate institution, just like ISKCON is a separate institution. So Chaitanya Saraswati Math is also a separate institution. His followers, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj withdrew, like Prabhupada withdrew. Right. His followers have established temples in major cities throughout the world. His Sanskrit and Bengali writings have been appreciated by both scholars and devotees for their originality, depth of realization, and happy poetic style. Published and widely distributed throughout the world, they are now available in English, Spanish, French, Hindi, Portuguese, German, French, and are being translated into other languages. Throughout his life, Bhaktivedanta Swami always maintained the highest respect and confidence in Sridhar Maharaj. He considered that whenever it was not possible for his disciples to proceed directly under his guidance, they should take direction from Sridhar Maharaj. He once wrote in a letter to one of his students, because you are my disciple, I think a sincere soul, it is my duty to refer you to someone who is competent to act as a Shiksha Guru. For spiritual advancement of, let me just finish this.
Yeah. He should also mention this is Achyutananda, in my opinion. It's nice if you can actually mention the people instead of only
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I believe it was him. Yes.
Okay.
There he is. Looks very early, huh?
Yeah.
I consider Sridhar Maharaj to be even my Shiksha Guru. What to speak of the benefit you can have by his association. Sorry, okay, so your
Life.
sentence.
So is Prabhupada being quoted again in life. So we must go to someone who is actually practicing spiritual life. So if you are actually serious to take instructions from a Shiksha Guru, I can refer you to one who is the most highly competent of all my God brothers. This is B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, whom I consider to be even my Shiksha Guru. So what to speak of the benefit you can have by his association. So if you're serious about the advancement of your spiritual life, I will advise you to go to Sridhar Maharaj. It will be very good for your spiritual benefit, and I will feel that you are safe. When I was in India with others, we lived with Sridhar Maharaj. You can also make arrangements for your other God brothers to go there in the future. So live peacefully with Sridhar Maharaj, and thereby you will be spiritually enlightened. Yeah, all I remember was that the guys who stayed with Sridhar Maharaj were draft dodgers.
Huh.
It was Vietnam time.
So how do you, I don't know if the word is juxtapose these wonderful statements of Prabhupada with one which is always referred to that Rupanuga got in
They have
1974.
one letter. That's all they have. Anyway, go on.
What was the context of that? Do you have any idea? Why was Prabhupada forbidding? Because some devotees might get mixed up or something?
I think, yes, I believe, I don't remember clearly, but as far as I recall, reconciling it, it was some matter of understanding that was not clear, that he thought Srila Sridhar Maharaj had done something, but actually he hadn't done, and actually it was clear. Now there's also the idea that Prabhupada was upset with Srila Sridhar Maharaj because he attempted to make a single acharya in Gaudiya Math. But
Right,
this was after the GBC collapsed, right? The Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur set up a GBC, and the
right.
GBC collapsed. And to save the institution, Sridhar Maharaj thought establishing a single guru would be possible. So that was also impossible. So
And
Prabhupada
was
thought that was
that about supporting, excuse me for interrupting, because some say, oh, he was supporting Ananta Vasudev.
I don't know who he was supporting. I have no
Okay,
idea.
okay, okay.
Anyway, in Ananta Vasudev was in one level a black serpent, on another level he was very dear to Saraswati Thakur.
Right,
So I don't know which one it was, but at any
okay.
rate, he hoped to save the Gaudiya mission in that way, and but it didn't work. And Prabhupada disagreed. But how do you reconcile that? God brothers have different disagreements now and then.
Sure,
What's the problem? There's one instance where something like this is there,
right,
and everything else, the predominance of evidence is
right,
there that they were very close. They may
right.
have disagreed on one thing, but who doesn't disagree? Even the most in love, close husband and wife, they have disagreements all the time.
Prabhupada said it's impersonalism to think that we're all going to be exactly thinking the same way.
Right, exactly. So anyway, that's it's reconciled in that way, and my thinking that was instilled in me by Sagar Maharaj and Sudhir Goswami Maharaj was that it's incumbent upon me to develop and grow in Krishna consciousness. This is why Prabhupada came, to give genuine Krishna consciousness to us, and
Yes,
how to develop. I had no fixed service in ISKCON. I was living in a rural place, working at a job, and I was thinking, how can I best develop my spiritual life? And there's a pure devotee there who Prabhupada pointed us to. So naturally,
hmm,
it was not in contradiction with Prabhupada's, because at first I was also thinking, oh, I'm going to be loyal to Prabhupada. I'm not going to go to anyone else. But
right.
it was due to my misunderstanding about the position of Shiksha Guru. Shiksha Guru doesn't replace Diksha Guru.
Uh-huh,
He
uh-huh,
he gives you the vision where you can see more and more of the beauty and greatness of your Diksha Guru.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
He enhances that
exactly.
relationship.
I
Yeah.
so much appreciate Prabhupada so much deeply as a result of understanding what Srila Sridhar Maharaj is giving us,
Sure.
in the heart. What is the position of Sri Guru?
Mm.
Sri Guru is everything. That what we receive in Krishna consciousness isn't memorized in books. It's
Uh-huh.
transferred from Guru's heart to your heart.
Right.
That's the real thing. It may go through books, but you can't get it by memorizing. You have to
Uh,
connect with your guru and surrender
mhm.
as much as you can. And to the degree to which you surrender, that inspiration will enter the heart. That I understood from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. That
Mhm.
um, Sri Guru Charana Padma. What is that line? Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. That the Guru instills in the heart Divya Gyan, pure knowledge. Hriday Prakashito is instilled in the heart by the Guru. So that is given by, who is it? Narottam Das, I think. Um,
Yes. Yes.
so and Prabhupada, we sing it every day.
Mm.
So anyway, that's a side note.
Thank
So
you.
uh, where were we?
In this passage, Bhaktivedanta Swami describes Sridhar Maharaj as, quote, the most competent of all my god brothers, quote, someone competent to act as Shiksha Guru, unquote. And in an astounding statement, he declares, quote, I consider Srila Sridhar Maharaj to be my Shiksha Guru. So what to speak of the benefit that you can have from his association, unquote. What Bhaktivedanta Swami means by Shiksha Guru is best explained by his own words in his purports to the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He states, quote, one should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states that there are two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is the liberated person fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. There is no difference between the shelter giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual masters. If one foolishly discriminates between them, he commits an offense in the discharge of devotional service. Although I,
Directly Srila Prabhupada's words, huh?
yes, yes. Yeah,
Amazing.
I have a whole article that I just put up on my Facebook page called Shiksha Diksha, saying that the jury doesn't seem to be out on the issue of Guru Tattva yet, because from the official GBC's point of view, you cannot be guru without their, authorization. Other godbrothers say no. Jiva Goswami says that an ecclesiastical society doesn't have the final word about whether there's a relationship between a guru and a disciple. Daneshwar Prabhu said to me that Diksha means the giving of Divya Gyan. And who's that person? Well, for us, it's, most of us, it's Srila Prabhupada. And he was saying, and so therefore the gurus of ISKCON are meant to be Shiksha coaches. But then Sureshwar Prabhu, who's done a 10-part series on Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, Shiksha Guru of all, states that no, the Diksha Guru is the people who are currently giving the initiation, and then Prabhupada is the Shiksha Guru of all. So that's why I said the jury doesn't seem to be out. Did you?
In the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, it's like that. The gurus now are giving diksha, but the only reason they're able to give diksha is the fact that they've been given diksha by Srila Prabhupada. So when a guru
Uh-huh.
initiates, he's not thinking he's initiating. He's thinking he's giving what his guru gave as best he can. It's
Right.
not, that's the mood of the guru. The guru doesn't think, oh, I've got so much I'm giving to you. I've got what I've got comes from my guru. And I want to give to you.
Uh-huh.
Thinking like that is the position of guru, and it's really illuminated clearly in Srila Sridhar Maharaj's talks that are recorded in Sri Guru and His Grace. That answers all the questions. 1983, everything was answered by Srila Sridhar Maharaj according to Vaishnava philosophy, and exactly what Prabhupada wanted us to take shelter of. but they turned their backs.
Uh-huh. Did you do some of those recordings yourself?
I was there and I listened to some of the cassette tapes. There was a whole, I don't know how many. Now it's in 30 gigabytes of talks by Srila Maharaj.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one Mataji I know, Kundalata, and she's working with another devotee that continuously is translating those talks. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Although it may be said that Bhaktivedanta Swami encouraged his godbrothers in general, no one anywhere can produce a similar statement of endorsement. The fact is that Bhaktivedanta Swami possessed the highest respect and appreciation for Sridhar Maharaj, and Sridhar Maharaj is unparalleled in his understanding and admiration of Bhaktivedanta Swami, as evinced in the following eulogy, quote, "So, our Swami Maharaj has done a miracle. Thakur Bhaktivinoda conceived, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur began to translate this conception into action. And we find that through Swami Maharaj in his last days, it has been fulfilled to such a great extent. We are happy, we are glad, we are proud." Unquote. Wow, wonderful.
Guy.
Is right.
Yes. Srila Sridhar would just beam when he talked about Srila Prabhupada.
Wow, so
And,
sweet.
because that's a genuine Vaishnava. He sees someone is serving his guru in a beautiful, perfect way. What
Right.
a happy thing. On the
Sure.
mundane level, it's like, oh, he's another one or this or that. That's completely mundane.
Right.
We look to the position of our gurus, and what is the thing that enhances our understanding of our guru and assists us in our surrender to our guru. That's the substance for me. And I think it's the feeling that's passed down from guru to Vaishnava is in that way. I'm getting lost. Sorry.
Okay, I'll just finish this last paragraph. In response to this, Bhaktivedanta Swami, with great humility, his voice choked with emotion, tearfully replied, "So, by Guru and Vaishnav, whatever position I have got, it is by Guru's mercy and the blessings of the Vaishnavs. Otherwise, how I may have. So I wish that Sridhar Maharaj may bestow his blessings as he was always as he was doing always, and my Guru Maharaj help me so I can do some service. By his grace, it has become successful. I have no credit. I do not know how things are happening because I am not at all qualified. Chadiya Vaishnav save Nishtara Payechi Keba, without serving an ideal Vaishnav. Who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya?" And after the disappearance of Bhaktivedanta Swami, Sridhar Maharaj declared, "I consider him to be Shaktyavesh avatar," and it is confirmed in his writings on his spiritual journey through the Atlantic, how he landed there in America and the nature of his beginning the movement, his intense degree of dedication to Krishna and dependence, and how much he made himself empty of
Mm.
any other desire than the order of his Guru Dev, quite empty, that Krishna came down to help him. And it is corroborated that Krishna worked on his behalf. So before we continue on, I just wanted to look at this beautiful photo here. You see, I guess it must be the Bhagavatams beside him there on the right hand side.
No doubt.
And he's got his what do they call it? Kumundala
Yeah.
on the left there.
That must be after his sannyas then. But he took sannyas early
Uh-huh.
on, maybe 26, 28. I'm not sure.
Uh-huh. He looks very thin.
Yeah. Sridhar Maharaj always even in his old age, he was very thin.
Okay. Um, yeah, I thought this was significant here where we were just reading. I mean, of course, it's all significant, but he was just the point about how he emptied himself so
Yes.
much that he had to ask Krishna for help. I
Yes.
thought, yeah, I guess that's the point you've got to come to, where you just rid yourself of all these anarthas, and then Krishna can actually do his work through you.
Yeah. Become actually helpless.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's our ego does not want to let go because we think we're going to protect ourselves by
Yes.
our accumulation of different conceptions. But gradually, by the grace of our gurus and the grace of that heart connection, the the mountain of ego will be blown up. Or Srila Govindaraj used to say, uh, Srila Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada has blown a tunnel in the mountain of ego, and I am coming to start at the point where he left off.
Wow, so humble, so sweet.
Well, yeah,
Shastra Nipuna, scriptural genius, Nyasi Varam, Shudharam, crown jewel of sannyasis.
yeah. Shastra Nipuna was given by Saraswati Thakur.
Uh-huh. Praising him for his
Yeah,
Siddhanta of
right.
the Shastra.
And he wrote many songs also, like that important Pranamami Sada Prabhupada.
Uh-huh.
We talked about that already.
Yeah. So last sentence here, how he landed there in America and the nature is beginning the movement, his intense degree of dedication to Krishna and dependence, and how much he made himself empty of any other desire than the order of his Gurudev. Quite empty. That Krishna came down to help him, and it is corroborated that Krishna worked on his behalf. Your turn.
In his poem, Prayer to the Lotus Feet of Krishna, we find him pleading with Krishna. My dear brother, your good fortune will come to you only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Seeing his Gurudev, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, as Radharani's delegation, this is our real line, genuine line. It comes from Srimati Radharani. And
Uh-huh.
Prabhupada clearly saw that and knew that. And his order as her divine service, he humbly submitted that he did not feel himself worthy or fit to discharge the divine service. So he enlisted Krishna in the service of his guru. He had completely dedicated himself to that purpose. So he's saying Srimati Radharani will be happy if you fulfill the order of her dear servant, my Gurudev. How beautiful, how amazing, and how revelatory. It just shows the depth of Srila Prabhupada's, devotional standing. Just, the real, genuine, pure Vaishnava. Amazing. So where did we leave off? Oh, Guru Divine Force Power came down to help him. Yes. Otherwise, it is impossible. It is not a thing of ordinary level that anyone will do, but the highest thing has been taken down to the lowest position so extensively. It cannot but be divine power, embodied and in a great intensity and magnitude. So Shaktiavesh avatar, I cannot but take him to be so. Amazing, huh? That was his vision. And when they asked him, Shaktivesh avatar of who? He said, Nityananda Prabhu, of
Right,
course. With
right.
such appreciation, there should be little doubt why Bhaktivedanta Swami had implicit faith in Sridhar Maharaj. He even heard directly from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur of the exceptional qualifications of Sridhar Maharaj. In their last known recorded meeting in 1977, just prior to Bhaktivedanta Swami's leaving this mortal world, we find him imploring Sridhar Maharaj to take up residence at his temple in Sridham Mayapur. The conversation that ensues is a transcript of their taped conversation of March 1977. Bhaktivedanta
Okay, you
Swami,
be you be you be Prabhupada and I'll be Sridhar Maharaj, okay?
okay, I do not know for how long I will be able to carry on. So I came to see Sridhar Maharaj. This is devotee.
If if you all go away, then the world will become dark. To Bhaktivedanta Swami, it is so wonderful that the will of the Lord becomes manifest through someone.
I want very much, Maharaj, that you come and stay at Mayapur, because Prabhupada always desired that you preach. He told me quite a few times, why don't you pull him out? They both laughed. I also tried to some extent before, but somehow or other it did not work out. Now, why don't you come and stay at Mayapur? Srila Prabhupada also told me also, Sridhar Maharaj is one of the finest preachers. I want to take you Srila Prabhupada, that means Saraswati Thakur,
Yeah.
told me also, Sridhar Maharaj is one of the finest preachers. I want to take you everywhere, at least at the place we have in Mayapur. People are coming from all over the world. Why don't you come and stay there? If you just agree, then whatever kind of building you want, I will arrange for it.
Wow.
They're trying to secure a house for me, so both of us will stay there. So Prabhupada envisioned that house they were building for him.
Yeah.
And whenever you want, you can come here to your mat.
Wow.
So this vision of people from all over the world coming to see Srila Sridhar Maharaj, it came to pass at Srila Sridhar Maharaj's mat. People from all over the world came to see Sridhar Maharaj, and he was preaching the mission of his Guru Maharaj. Like he said, I have heard so much from Saraswati Thakur, and I need to give this, to like give it back, to give it out. He would always like declare that what I have has come from my Gurudev. I need to, bring it out. So he loved questions. Whenever people asked questions, he would go on and on and on, and another question, on and on and on. It was very amazing to listen.
Mm-hmm. The two foremost disciples of Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur at the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat in Navadvip Dham. Sridhar Maharaj, yes, as long as I am alive to fulfill Prabhupada's desire.
This is my earnest desire. Since you could not go around the world and preach, at least stay there and people will come to you. I shall make that arrangement. If you stay, then it will be helpful to me also. Sometimes I need to consult with someone, but there's no one. There is no one that I can consult. I feel this deficiency very greatly. And devotee says, if he stays in Mayapur, then all kinds of people will get to hear from him. Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami. Yes, that's right.
Yes, people from all kinds of cultural backgrounds will come there.
Yes, and they're already coming. And in that house, I will make arrangements for an elevator so that you won't have to go through the difficulty of walking up and down the stairs. You won't even have to move a step yourself. I'll make arrangements for a car and a lift.
Wow.
My disciples are telling me that they will build a house for me. So both of us will stay in that house. You can feel the, Prabhupada's, what's the word? He's just filled with
love.
With love. It's just bubbling out is the best I can think of.
He's saying to him, there'll be no obstacles. Whatever you want, whatever you need, I shall, Krishna will provide. I shall arrange.
Right. Most of the time I'm traveling around. So if you are there, then they can get some guidance. So Maharaj, please give me the order and I will make all arrangements for you. Sure. The planetarium, Temple of Understanding, also will be built under your direction.
Wow.
My idea is to combine the Indian culture and American money, the lame man and the blind man policy. I tell them also that this will be very beneficial for the world. So there it is. They had time to consult with Sridhar Maharaj.
Yeah, we blew it big time. Boy,
Govind Maharaj knew Sridhar Maharaj's vision of that also, but he's gone now too.
Oh, really? And was any of that preserved?
Not really. He didn't really mention it so much.
Oh, that should have been captured from Srila Govinda Maharaj.
Yeah, only I remember saying that they could talk to him because wherever Guru Maharaj was, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was, almost always Govinda Maharaj was there. So in meeting with all his god brothers, talking to people, reading, he would read for him the Mahabharata sometimes Srimad Bhagavatam, and he would comment. And so he had 20 at that time when he was talking to us, maybe up to 30, no, from 47 to 87. That's like 40 years with Srila Maharaj. Anyway, and here, Govind Raj had the ear where if he heard it, it was always there. That type of reception. He was qualified in that way. Yeah. Okay. Here in their final meeting, Bhaktivedanta Swami prophetically refers to his imminent disappearance and reveals that it is in this connection that he has come to see Sridhar Maharaj. In friendly jesting, they discuss Sridhar Maharaj's reticence regarding large-scale preaching work. Of himself, Sridhar Maharaj has remarked, "I did not want to become a big person. That was not my nature. I did not want to move around with many people. I'm just satisfied with whatever I have. My spiritual thinking is my life. The conclusions of the scriptures and the advices of the Mahajans, to relish them and practice them and to discuss them in a small confidential circle, that is the main goal of my life." In the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktivedanta Swami, quoting Dhruva Maharaj, writes, "My dear Lord, I am fully satisfied with whatever you have given me. I have nothing else to ask from you, for I am fully satisfied to be engaged in your service." This is the mentality of a pure devotee who does not want anything material or spiritual from the personality of Godhead. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore called Krishna Bhavanamrita Sangha, the association of persons who are simply interested in thoughts of Krishna. So this is a point which can easily be misunderstood. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was by nature, a very withdrawing type. He had come out for some, maybe some 20 years, 10 years under Saraswati Thakur, and 10 years after that, traveling and preaching. He helped establish the Math in Madras, also Bombay. He opened the center in Kurukshetra. He did many preaching in his long time. And then his health began to fail. And when Prabhupada saw Srila Sridhar Maharaj later said, "I was sure that I would leave way before him, much before him." But he just somehow it was Krishna's arrangement. He had the longevity to sit and give so much. And that what he gave was so much, confirmation and inner revelation and understanding of the depth and the greatness and the beauty, the feeling, the position of our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. How could it be that Krishna consciousness, real Krishna consciousness, gives you anything but increased, reverence and love for your guru and the Vaishnavas? It must be so. And we found that with Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So like I said yesterday, how could we, it's impossible to go. You have that shelter. How to go away? It was just impossible.
I'm getting the realization that, at least this is what I'm hearing from Krishna within, that if I may make such a bold statement, because I've never said this before, that Srila Bhakti Rakshak Maharaj took over from when Srila Prabhupada left off. He was meant to be our guardian.
Yes, my feeling is that he was, and his preaching indicated that clearly, that Prabhupada wanted him to introduce to us the Madhyama stage. How to deal with Krishna consciousness on the Madhyama stage. And what does that mean? It means that no more self-motivation, no more, oh, it's so blissful, I like it because it's blissful, or this is a really nice temple, it's so comfortable, or whatever. Nothing for me,
right?
Everything for Sri Guru. Yes. And from that position, we try to develop that thinking and grow. That's the middle stage. And the middle stage is the biggest struggle because the ego tries to block that.
Right.
So we're all struggling. So
continue.
Sri Maharaj's talks address that position.
Yes.
He knew Prabhupada wanted him to help us.
Sure, of course. Yes, go on. I'm listening.
I just said we were basically kanishtas under Prabhupada. We were learning. Yeah. The self-motivation in that stage is okay, no problem. Right. But at a certain stage, we have to decide, what is Krishna consciousness?
Right.
It's just that. No more like, I want this, I'm going to take that, I'm going to feel this, I'm going to feel that. it doesn't matter. Whatever comes, we accept and try to surrender and give to Krishna. No more taking. Madhyam is the stage where we learn to give. And everywhere we read in Prabhupada's books, and also what Srila Srila Maharaj gave us, the middle stage is the most difficult.
Thank you. It reminds me of the story of the gopis when Narada was going around to the yogis, the Brahmins, asking for dust from the feet of his devotees for his headache. And everyone was saying, no, 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 don't look at us. It's going to spoil your yoga. It's going to spoil our Brahminical sacrifice. But it was only when he came to the gopis and they immediately started scraping the dust. And Narada said, well, aren't you worried that you'll be making some offense and go to hell for putting your feet dust on Krishna's head? And the gopis said, hey, if we've got to go to hell, but Krishna cures his headache, that's better than being in heaven and vice versa. So yeah, they were ready to do anything and
That's
everything.
real devotion. Yeah. So that's what we aspire to. At least we have
Yes.
that in front of us. And that is the one saying that was given by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, if I can remember it. No, it's on the entry to the Mott, and basically it says, yeah, you probably remember. I can't remember.
Pujala.
Yes, Ragapata, Gaurava Bange, then something, Jana Sange. So we engage in our worship.
Repeat the first part again. Raga.
Pujala Ragapata.
Pujala Raga.
Oh, is it? No, it was originally Vishaya, and under Srila Srila direction, it was added Kirtana because people would misunderstand. But Vishaya Rangi means we engage all activities, everything in the service of the Supreme. Even the lowest things we engage in service. Like Saraswati Thakur said, if we need to in London to have them stay, we'll feed them meat. So Vishaya Rangi, engage even to the lowest thing. But they changed it to Kirtan Rangi because people would misunderstand. And then the next one says, I can't remember, but it says that we worship the highest love from a distance, always keeping a respectful distance from these things, because this was the mood of Saraswati Thakur very clearly. So that we carry with us.
I'm just trying to see if I can pull up that quote here. The Raga path is above. I think this is it right here. 1 second. Come on, page.
Well, maybe, yeah, okay. There it is. Up. Pujala Ragapata, Gaurava Bange, and then there's a different ending. Pujala Ragapata, Gaurava Bange. Oh, Matala Harijana, Vishaya Range. That's it. Those two.
Matala Harijana Vishaya Range. Pujala Ragapata. The servants of Hari are engaged in lavish affairs, handling material wealth and engaging all manner of things in the Lord's service. They worship the path of spontaneous devotion with Gaurava Bange in a mood of awe and reverence, and to show that the Raga path is above all, above our heads, they remain as servants, being a little distant and below, praying for that of a servant's duty, not for that of a confidential nature, not to bring that highest divine love down here, but to hold that upon our heads.
This is Nrsinga Maharaj, I think, right?
Yes.
Or is it Paramadvaiti? No,
it's Nrsinga Maharaj. Well,
okay.
This is coming from Veena, but I'm pretty sure it was written by Narasimha Maharaj.
Yeah.
Doesn't say, but I found this on his page before.
Very nice. Yeah.
Must be.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the the clear mood given by Srila Sridhar Maharaj also, that our worship is always from a distance. And so far, reading, there was a question about reading the the higher books of Rupa Goswami, and Srila Sridhar answered that his Guru Maharaj has never read those, and he will never read them because his Guru Maharaj will read. Then he
Wow.
said, then Goswami Maharaj says, well, they say then that, why did Rupa Goswami write the books? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj looked at Goswami Maharaj and said, we are not atheists. That means that, you're going to get to it in the next life or two. Don't worry about it.
Another explanation I've heard is that they wrote these books for each other amongst the Goswamis, like as gifts to each other to
Yeah,
share.
of course, possible. But they were preachers. They're setting down what Mahaprabhu has given them in the heart. So they're no doubt they're setting it down for, for application, but application at a point that as indicated by Krishnadas Kaviraj, that the point of I can't remember. The point above being detached from all material things, then beginning to empty oneself out of the ego, then beginning to sense some presence of spirituality in pure consciousness, and then only then, beginning the experience of rasa. What is it? Sorry, my brain is not. We've been a long time. My brain is really shorting out.
I understand. I just would like to read this comment from Srila Sridhar Maharaj about this. This is from Darshan 14th, 881.
Cool.
Pujala Raga Pata Gaurava Bange, composed by Guru Maharaj himself. So this Srila Bhaktisiddhanta actually wrote this. When from the hired house in Calcutta, the deities and the mat was removed to his own constructed mat. The deities were carried in a chariot, and we were dancing and singing just in front of the deities. At that time, he composed some 6 lines, perhaps, quote, you should sing this and direct the chariot from the hired house to our mat, unquote. Matala Harijan Vishayarange Pujala Raga Pata Gaurava Bange. It is currently seen that the devotees have made themselves mad in handling so much material wealth. Is he referring to ISKCON, you think?
He's referring to some of his god brothers also.
Okay. Generally, the devotees should engage themselves in the subject of the Lord, but here in Gaudiya Math, we find they are handling money, motor car, this, that, everything here, lavishly, Vishaya Range. For what purpose? Pujala Raga Pata Gaurava Bange. Gaurava Bange, to show that the Ragapat is above all. Those that are followers of Ragapat, their position is very high. Not that they cannot be masters of this mundane world, so they have left everything and are taking the path of worshiping him in their heart. But all this grandeur, all reverence, everything should go to serve him. Pujala Ragapata. Everything will have its fulfillment with their connecting in any way with the feet of those that are engaged in their worship, exclusive of these worldly things with his heart. And then from Follow the Angels, he says, Pujala Raga Pata Gaurava Bange, that is always upon our head, that the prospect of our life's future, life after life, cannot be finished. We shall rather foster the hope, the pure hope, that we may be taken in one day in that camp with this idea. But
Yes,
we, yes, go on.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Goswami cites this often, that Uddhava, who's considered the highest devotee,
Right?
what is his aspiration in Vrindavan?
Be a blade of grass.
Exactly, a creeper on the ground to be walked on by the feet of the gopis. So this whole thing of I'll be a cowherd boy, I'll be this, I'll be that. It's just voyeurism, as Goswami Maharaj says.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. What are the highest devotee is thinking like that? And so
Uh-huh.
if we culture that we only want some meager low thing, then if Krishna wants, he'll place us accordingly. If he wants us to be a cowherd boy, we'll be a cowherd boy. But we should, the devotee aspires for, something, just the dust of the lotus feet of the great devotee, something like that.
Interesting, because I was hearing one godbrother saying that it's important for us to hear and chant these exalted literatures, because it's only by doing that that we will develop a taste and realize, oh, I'm attracted to being a coward boy, I'm attracted to being a manjari, I'm attracted to being uh, and I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not trying to
Right.
criticize anyone, but
Of course, I understand.
but I
Well,
was just like, really? Like, I wasn't sure because I'd never heard this. And he was saying, yes, he said, it's not that you're going to, that we need to cultivate that now, right here and now, because it's not going to happen after we leave our bodies. And I thought, well, isn't it by chanting Hare Krishna that all of this will be
it
revealed
will
to us?
naturally develop. Yeah. And the concept that they've taken, that we're all going back to Godhead when we leave our bodies, is, eventually we will go back to Godhead. Prabhupada guaranteed that. In this life, maybe one out of, 100,000, a million, who knows? But the point being, okay, you think you're going back to Godhead, so you have to cultivate these things. But where is that coming from? Where's that instruction from Prabhupada? Where's that instruction from Saraswati Thakur, to whom Prabhupada gave his life? Saraswati Thakur would not look at those books. So, well, who are we to do that? It's offensive to, well, why? To Saraswati Thakur? Would Prabhupada be happy someone's offending Saraswati Thakur? No, of course
Of
not.
course not.
I mean, it's just a concoction. It's based on the misunderstanding that, yes, when we leave our body, we're going back to Godhead. Doesn't matter how pure we are, how surrendered we are, anything. We're going back to Godhead. It's not true. You have to become free from all material objects. And then that's the beginning of developing your inner love. It's a long time. We have to think many, many births. I think I can remember when someone said something like, a million births or something. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj kind of joked, that may be an underestimation.
Wow. But yet, Prabhupada, one could say, well, it was just to encourage us. He'd say, in this very lifetime, you can
Right,
go
it's possible. It is possible, no doubt. But what does it say in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Nectar of Devotion? What is the path? The path is becoming anartha nibriti. That's it. I was thinking of it.
Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Chabhajana Kriya Tato Narta Nivriti Syat Tato Nishta
Nishta,
Ruchistata,
yes.
and then Bhava, right?
Nishta Ruchi, then Bhava, right. So, we go through. So are we on the level of anartha nibriti even? No.
No, I'm not.
Who is? Nobody is.
I can't speak for everybody else, but
Neither can I, but come on. I mean, maybe someone, but we know our God brothers. We're all sincere. I don't question that. But
yeah.
having no attachment to anything in the material plane, if someone claims that, Srila Sridhar Maharaj told us, if someone actually comes out and claims that, he's an imposter.
Wow. In one tape, I remember Prabhupada saying, even if you're attached to a sunset or even one sweet ball, you will have to come back.
Exactly, right. So yeah, he's giving us the wonderful possibility of Krishna consciousness. But then it comes down to, in the middle plane, it comes down to the nitty gritty. You got to, claw your ego up, claw out the mountain of ego, and struggle, work on it day by day. And how to do that. Prabhupada has given us the formula. We read, we chant, and most important, we associate with the Vaishnavas, sadhu sangha.
That's why I'm here with you.
Yeah, I think you're doing that all the time. I really appreciate that.
And just a little more, he says, but we must be ready to pay for it. And our Guru Maharaj came for that purpose. Pujala Ragapata. Don't go hurriedly. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. That experience is for the highest minded. It is the highest. One must go step by step. If we omit any step, we will be nowhere. Let's follow the angels. And then he says a little more from there. Pujala Raga Pata Gaurava Bange. Very sweet. The Raga Pat is on the head. We are servants of the Raga Pat. We are in Vidimarg under Shastrika rule. We must live and move under Shastrika rule and always keep the Raga Pat upon our head. The whole tenor of Guru Maharaj's life was such, quote, that is high, very high, and from below we are to honor that. We must establish this conception, the proper regard for that higher Leela throughout the entire world. Quote, that is too high.
Yeah, what did Saraswati Thakur wrote? The Sahajya Shata Dushani, the 100 flaws of Sahajism.
Oh,
Everything is there. It's also told, Srila Maharaj also told that they came to Radha Kunda with Saraswati Thakur, and they're going to read some verses.
right.
And they're thinking, oh, they're going to read 10th canto and all these things. But they read the verses of Prahlad Maharaj, which is the very beginning level of devotion. Prahlad is Dasya Rasa, right? I think so. Anyway, yeah, they read Prahlad Maharaj, not Rasa Leela or anything like that. Saraswati Thakur was very careful. And so his disciples reflected that. We never heard from Srila Prabhupada about reading these things.
And the argument they give is, well, come on, that's when we were just babies then. We need to mature in our older years.
Well, where's the guidance for that? And what is the understanding based on what scripture? If you're thinking you have to be ready because you're going to go back to Godhead when you leave your body, that may be a valid reasoning, but it's based on a complete distorted assumption. We're not going to go back to God. We have to work on destroying our ego. You think you don't have a big ego still? You're still not attached to material things? Come on, we suddenly jump over all the qualifications given by Kaviraj Goswami and Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. It's not possible. It's like foolish Sahajya stuff.
I'm in the process of learning.
That's what I've received from Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. You read Prabhupada's books everywhere, you see the 13 kinds of Sahajas and this and that, and
Yes.
avoiding the Sahajas. And I was always thinking, why is Prabhupada telling us this? We never meet any of these people or what? But he's saying it over and over again.
So to the best of your knowledge, Srila Sridhar Maharaj never read Govinda Lilamrita. He never read Gita Govinda, to the best of your knowledge.
He openly told that. Srila Govinda Maharaj was exposed to that because his father was a kind of semi-Sahaja guru who sang those. He was a brilliant singer. And so he sang Gita Govinda and stuff like that, and Chandidas and Vidyapati. So sometimes Sridhar Maharaj would ask Govinda Maharaj, just before he left, he asked Govinda Maharaj to sing a Vidyapati song. At that point when he's about to leave. But never anything.
That was not his common practice.
No, never any. He never read any of those books. He openly told us. He never even opened them. What he's heard from those are contained, and all that we need is contained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's some quotes there. So that is sufficient. We know fully what Kaviraj Goswami has given, so that we can jump up beyond that. Give us a break, man.
A lunch break.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm pretty exhausted.
Yeah. I thought by saying that. So let me just.
This is 4 hours, isn't it?
Wow, the nectar's rolling, so I completely lost track. I just want to see where we were so that I remember where we are next time. Let me just try to find that out here. So I just know where we left off. Let me, because yeah, this is so much nectar. Wow. All right, we don't want that. Okay, yeah. So found the page again. I just wanted just to be conscious here of where we left off, so we know where to go
Okay.
another time. All right, so there's Srila Sridhar Maharaj's photo, and we read to the bottom of this? I must go. Did we read this
No,
page?
we haven't read, I don't think.
Okay, okay.
I,
Um, did you want to just finish this last part here?
um, I, I have to go to the bathroom really bad.
Oh, okay. Anyway, we can just continue next time
Let's
from
pick
this
up on it.
page
Yeah,
here. I
right
don't
at this
know.
picture is good, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Don't
this was
remember
really
now.
great, Marge. Thank you so much for your
Dhanyavad.
association
Jai,
today.
all glory to Srila Prabhupada, who's given
Hare
us everything.
Jai, he
Srila
certainly has.
Sridhar, he gave us Srila Sridhar Maharaj on a platter. And
Yeah.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave us Govinda Maharaj on a platter. What can we say?
Yeah, we got lots to keep us going.
And now
Yeah.
we have all of
Probably,
our God brothers. What good fortune.
yes, for
So
sure.
nice if we
Thank you
can
for
just
letting
see
me.
like that. Yeah, if we can just see like that. Dandavad, Prabhu.
Okay, you let me know next time when it's convenient for you, okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Shri Guru, Shri
Hare
Gauranga
Krishna.
Ki Jai, Hare Krishna. Wasn't that fantastic? Wow, so much nectar flowing. Hearing from Srila Prabhupada's, hearing the love that exists between Srila Prabhupada and his dear god brother, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Some of my god brothers were able to take advantage of that. I was not able to, but at least I'm catching a little bit of that now. Until next time.